Greetings, everybody. How's it going? Future feature film director, the Rookie Critic here, and today is I just literally watched The Matrix this morning. Everybody knows that I've got a whole bunch of movies that I have not seen, a bunch of classics that everybody loves, popular ones, and I just saw The Matrix for the very first time. And with me right now is my buddy Shellback TJC. What up, dude?
Howdy.
Howdy ho! You also are a Fandom Menace or Fandom Collective Card Battle winner as of, was it yesterday or the day before? Where you won the card battle?
Yeah, I believe it was yesterday. Yep.
Heck yeah, beat out K-Log and Justin Proper. Nice. And what'd you do after your victory? Did you get some hoes? And
yeah.
Some hoes and coke?
Yeah, doing lines in Vegas. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Very good. Well, victory. Well, I'm not sure if Midnight's Edge will be able to join me. He's probably sleeping, which is all good. I just watched The Matrix, so that's pretty much what I'll talk about. I wanted to make it a watch party at first, but honestly, that's 2 hours and 16 minutes of time, and honestly, I don't want to be streaming for that long. Probably like an hour tops, to be honest. So just going to kind of give my thoughts on it as I go. And if you know some stuff about it, Shellback, let me know. And we'll, share some feedback here. So I don't really, just watching it now, like I just watched it. I mean, I guess I can see how it was a classic in the 90s, but I got to admit, when they showed the first fight with Trinity and the policeman or whatever, it looked kind of silly. I didn't think it was necessarily cool, but it was like where she jumps in the air and it like freezes and then goes around and then shows her do the kick in the air. That looked kind of goofy to me, but the rest of the stuff looked more, a little bit better, I suppose. But that was probably the first time they did that in a movie by that point, I assume.
I don't know. I would probably say it might have been meant to, give you that reaction, because you're like, well, that's not normal.
Pretty much. I'm like, okay, you just, it's like I stopped in the air and then spin around and I was like, I mean, that seems kind of cool, but I bet like if I was in a theater, I probably would have liked it more. But just watching it at home, kind of like, looks kind of goofy, but it's all good. The whole filter, the greenish filter, I guess, is kind of cool because it's like, lets you kind of know, okay, this is the normal world that you're in. It's the normal world. Everything's all fine and dandy, but something's just off a little bit. And it's like, the blue sky isn't even really blue. The, color grading makes it seem depressing, but everybody's going on like it's a normal world. So I kind of like the feeling there. I mean, of course, going into this, I knew, the plot of the movie and that he's the one and all that. So it wasn't, like a super, mind trick for me because, I already came in knowing the robots take over the world and all that.
Right.
But still, I like the effect that it had. And when he wakes up out of the cryo thing, the baby chamber, the wires, whatever. Yeah, that'd be freaking freaky.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, his first freak out or whatever moment, was when they had him in the freaking in the Lincoln, when they had him in the car, and they're about to freaking pull something out of his damn belly button, and he's like, "What the?"
I say no. Before that, when he got that put in there, and when he's like, "What good is a phone call without the ability to speak?" And then his mouth is like gone, and it's like, "Oh shit!" That's pretty freaky.
Then
he shoves the thing down the belly button, and I'm like, how's that? That's ripping a hole into you. Literally.
That's
a little goofy.
I see. Yeah, I don't know. And it. I mean, it's been a while since I've actually seen the movie, but yeah, when the agent, when Hugo Weaving, had him in that interrogation room, and then freaking puts that thing into him, and he's like, "What the fuck?"
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It reminded me of Transformers, oddly enough. I saw Transformers way before I saw The Matrix. So in Transformers 2, when was gonna say when Megatron shoves the little thingy down Shia LaBeouf's mouth, or for whatever reason, that kind of reminded me of that.
Oh yeah, yeah. The doctor thing or whatever. Yeah, that's
Yeah, and
yeah.
I mean, I don't know. So I I guess I don't really know what I expected from the movie, considering I knew bits and pieces of it, and I know I've probably seen on TV more footage of the second Matrix. I think they showed that on like FX, like a lot more than anything else. So like I think I've seen the whole Smith fight with Neo like a million times when I was younger, but I didn't really get what the hell's going on. I was just like, okay, he's just fighting everybody. Cool, 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 cool. Um, I don't know, Morpheus was all right. It's kind of a cool name, I guess, for it. I mean, I wonder when they came up with the name, what else they might have had his name be. You know,
Yeah.
we need Little John, or we need just Tim. Just
Right.
Tim is on the other line. Okay, gotta speak to Tim with that, or yeah, Jethry is on the other
Right.
line. It's like, oh shit, that'd be kind of funny. But
Yeah, that whole scene, you know, with the you know the red pill and the blue pill scene, you know, that was
no, that's right. I like the
that
way
was pretty cool stuff.
I like the way that Morpheus was delivering that. He's like,
Yeah.
he's like, I'm not gonna do anything to you. I'm just gonna be honest. I'm just gonna tell you the truth. Just gonna I'm just gonna bring you to the door, but it's your choice to walk through. And so he, goes through all that, and it's like, hey, you can just download stuff in here. It's all good. It's all this and that, and it's just a huge simulation. And then there's all that, and it's like, oh shit, okay,
Right.
okay. And
And,
what was that?
and you know, he was like Neo was like, okay, you know, it's all good, you know, and then he takes the pill, you know, and then and then the you know the freaking you know the was it Terminator 2? The you know like the liquid the liquid
Oh
Terminator
yeah, yeah, yeah.
freaking
He touches the
when,
mirror.
yeah when all that stuff like starts going all over his body and he's like what?
Yeah, that's pretty funny. Hail Ords in the chat. Ords, if you're free and you want to come on and talk some Matrix, I'll send you the link, and I'll just put it in the chat actually if you wanted to pop in, because I'm just doing just a regular discussion about it, and if you have stuff about the Matrix you want to talk about, that's cool. It's my first time seeing it, so I'm getting a modern day reaction, I suppose, compared to when he was out. So yeah, that's what's happening, and. All right, yeah. So yeah, the liquid metal thing was kind of weird. I think the events were wrong in that. So he takes the pill, and then he goes to that white room. I forget what they called that, like the purgatory or whatever type of room. And then then he goes with the white or with the liquid metal? I'm not sure. I just watched it, so I should know, but I forgot.
Yeah, right.
But that's pretty cool. Yeah. Okay. Or toward your driving. No, that's all right. That's all right. Let me check on the video over here, because it said there's 0 watching, but if he's commenting, then what? Just seeing. Okay. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, so with the Matrix, so he goes into there. I mean, back when you saw it, did you see it in the theaters when it came out, Shellback?
I don't even remember. I honestly couldn't tell you. There's a good chance that I did. There's a good chance that I did, but yeah, I don't know.
What'd you think of the downloading weapons and fighting styles and stuff?
Oh, yeah, yeah, you know, yeah. That first time, you know, when they're like, when he's there, you know, and he sees, you know, like his actual, you know, self, and you know, the thing in the back of his head and all, and then they show him the deal, you know, with the freaking long ass needle or whatever that they poke in there. But yeah, he gets hooked up, and then he opens up his eyes, and there's freaking Morpheus, hovering over him, and he's like, I know kung fu.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's kind of silly.
And then Morpheus was like, show me, and then they
They go inside and do a
they
little
go into the dojo, yeah.
See, I kind of thought when they said that you can have training downloaded, I kind of thought that it meant like there's a training room and then like you can spend as much time as you need training in there, and but like but like a bunch of time in there will have passed for you. But as far as outside goes, you've only been in there for a few seconds, but you got like 10 years worth of experience. Kind of the implication I got out of it, which in a way would seem more like rather than it being just simply downloaded.
Right.
Oh, I don't know, because
that's like when Neo and Trinity were on the run from the agents, and they're the helicopter on the roof,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, oh, we didn't, don't know, and she's like, no, I got it, it's like,
yeah.
Like, yeah, no, I just learned how.
She literally calls him, download this for me, please. Okay, thank you. Now we're good. Yeah. And it's like, wait a second, what? Like, I guess that's kind of neat. I guess I've never seen that in a movie, even past The Matrix. So that gets a point for originality, I suppose.
But the it's apparently though, freaking JJ or Ryan Johnson or whoever, apparently they must have watched this movie because the whole when they talk about freaking Ray and force downloading, and when Kylo touched her, and all that stuff.
I don't even think about that. That's a good point, man. Yeah, they that's where they got that from, maybe. That makes sense. That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, let's see. I'm trying to think about what else to specifically bring up with it on there. Downloading the stuff. I like the themes that they're trying to kind of play with like, what is actual reality? What is the taste? You think you're breathing air, and it's like, that isn't. Mm-hmm. Okay. And he's like, why my eyes hurt? He's like, you never used them before. I kind of like that when they yank him out of the machine and he's trying to like his first time he's going to be moving in the real world, and so they're like activating his muscles or something, and they're trying to get his eyes used to the light. Mm-hmm. And it's like that's kind of a decent thing, because that was kind of I don't know how that works necessarily in real life, but like I've heard with baby cows, that if they don't get to walk for like a year or two or something, like they don't really know how to. They will just stumble around and not have a clue what to do. So it kind of makes sense. It's how humans would probably be. They wouldn't just know how to move around. But then again, I would almost think that if your brain is telling your body to move, that even if the muscles aren't very strong, they'd be doing it. Yeah. I don't know, it's a thing to look around with, to think about sort of with the Matrix.
Yeah. Well, with that, as far as, the movie goes, it's like, the muscle is there, and I'm, he's been moving and exercising his muscles, in that pod or whatever. But at the same time, it's like he's been, floating in that liquid. So it's like, it's kind of like, it's probably kind of like, being in a pool, being in a swimming pool versus, being on dry land,
like there's less gravity in the water.
When you're on dry land, there's more effort and, not pressure. What's the word I'm looking for?
Yeah, gravity.
But anyway, takes more to move yourself or
momentum.
Actually, I'm not going to say it takes more because I mean you're actually expending quite a bit of energy trying to move yourself through the water, but it's not as impactful, you know. So that's
Yeah.
that's why they have like handicapped people and old people exercising in a pool because it's less of an impact on their joints and whatnot. So same theory with the movie. Moving yourself or moving your arms and legs, in that pod goo is a little bit different than making yourself move, on dry land. So
Mm-hmm.
anyway,
Yeah, that's all good. Yeah, I guess I'm trying to think about so the Morpheus and Trinity and all them, Tank, all those people that were living in the real world. Apparently, for did they mention how many years or what? Like, was it 1,000 years or something? Like, they're the human that the first person broke out of the Matrix. I kind of forgot.
Yeah, it had probably been it'd been a while. I mean, it was at minimum. At minimum, it had been long enough that no living person on Earth had known, uh, or no living person on Earth was alive when the world was quote unquote normal. They everybody everybody that's alive now has grown up in this apocalyptic world or whatever.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess I was trying to go back to. I don't remember when Morpheus said that the first person broke out. Was what I was trying to wonder when that happened, because he said the Oracle lady has been around for a long time and she's old, and making it sound like that was for a long time. And then that was another thing, because the first person that broke out, he said that when he died, he'd come back as the one, and that was kind of iffy for me a little bit. Did you catch that part in the movie?
I don't recall it at the moment.
Yeah, when he's talking to Neo, he's trying to tell him about some of the history a little bit, and correct me if I'm wrong, and anybody that sees this on a replay or something, but Morpheus says something along the lines of the first person that broke out was one of the best, I guess, and that when he died, that he'd return someday as the one, and or something like that, and something along those lines, and then that's why he's trying to find the one. Otherwise, how would he know what he's looking for?
Yeah.
I suppose. And so, in a way, it was kind of like the prophecy, chosen one type stuff. Okay,
yeah.
Tom's on his way. Thank goodness.
Well, the one, or what, Neo or whatever, that who's supposed to be the one. Like the of course, the main deal around it was the fact that he would be able to, the one would be able to defeat the machines. So then they could go back to humans being the major force on the planet.
Yeah, the dominant species. I get that, but I don't get how you can predict that in this type of world, because it's supposed to be like a real humans that do exist, against real machines that exist. But when they're in the Matrix, then it's a little more wonky there.
Yeah,
but I don't really get how just one can be born to, especially when you said they're not born anymore, they're grown, which I don't get if there's some type of semen swapping, or just
right.
literal copies. I don't know. They did not make that clear. When Tom gets on, Tom said he's on his way, so maybe he'll clear this up for me because I'm having questions about some of that stuff.
Well, see, you got the what they didn't show in the movie. What they didn't show in the movie is the is like the penis pump robot. Comes along and gathers the sample, and then the turkey baster robot goes over to a female pod, and I don't know.
And make something happen. I mean, that's a possibility. I wouldn't doubt it. And that's only the lowest of the low of the machines, because that's the equivalent of the garbage man in that society of the AI. Right. I would assume.
But
that's something I don't get either. What is the point of the machines even existing as far as it goes? Because they said they created the artificial intelligence. However. So what's the goal of an artificial intelligence? Like, I would assume that it would have something to strive for. And it just seems to be to just kind of rule the planet, and that's what it's been doing. And so it's been doing nothing for years.
They, well, I don't know. I mean, it seemed like they were kind of going with the, with the Skynet thing, as far as like, the machines saw, humans as, like basically a threat or whatever. And so, they just basically took us over and then turned us into their energy source,
Right, because we blocked out the sun, though.
Yeah.
Because humans blocked out the sun was why.
But I mean, that was one of the major things, about the Matrix is, we basically, we human beings were just,
Well, no, it's like I get that, but it's like
fuel.
But it's like, okay, so let's say that for that entire time, humans are the fuel. Now what? That's my point. It's just like. They have machines using their functions, and then if they have intelligence, then I assume they have goals. And if they're just chilling, I would assume they'd want to leave the planet. Would be their main goal to build a rocket ship to leave Earth. I would think, but
just,
I don't know.
I mean, just existing and carrying on, I guess. Kind of.
Okay, Tom, welcome.
Is this a watch party then?
Just more of a discussion now. It's going to be, but it's I looked at the runtime. It's 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Or 16 minutes, and that's a little longer than I want to go for. So just doing a discussion pretty much, and we've been going in and around and about, but there's been a few questions that I've had that not quite sure about. I'm not sure they explained. So. When Morpheus, because you've seen The Matrix, you've seen it before, right, Tom?
Oh yeah,
a few times.
Yeah,
a little bit.
So I missed your initial response to it, but
that's all right. Let's see. Like I'm struggling to see it as the classic it's held to be, but that's obviously because it's 20 years past when it came out. I'm assuming I can still see how back then it would be impressive.
You also know that there's two very disappointing sequels.
Yeah, I think I've seen on TV more of the second one with all the Smiths. Is that the second one where there's like the Kajillion Smiths that fight Neo?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that like a million times on TV. But I guess, so when Morpheus is telling Neo the story about like how humanity kind of broke out, I guess I kind of missed it or something. I don't know if I was distracted for a sec and missed it. How long have the robots or the AI controlled?
I think it's been like 200 or plus years. I think the whole thing that they learn in the second or third one is that it's been a lot longer than they think. And then
they implied that they don't know all the information; they just have bits and pieces.
Right, and when this first film came out, I mean, we were all kind of just blown away by the whole concept of it. It really kind of got everybody like Sixth Sense did with its ending, to where it was like, oh, because you go into this movie without knowing a thing about it other than it's a Keanu Reeves action movie. The Matrix reveal kind of takes you by surprise. Like it really takes you off guard. So you're like, okay, and then you got to really kind of get your footing, and you're like, okay, so there's the real world, and then there's the computer world. And like you guys were talking about the whole Chosen One business, I heard before I jumped in here.
Yeah, that was pretty much where we were getting to, and that kind of goes with this one. So when Morpheus is talking, do you remember when he says when the first human broke out of the Matrix? Because he made it sound like there was ones before him, and that it's been quite a few years that humans humans have lived outside.
He's like there's been like a couple generations or whatever that have been born outside of the Matrix.
Yeah.
But what we learned in the second and third, it's the problem with the second and third film, is it just kind of really takes away from the first film's simplicity. And
well, I guess then in terms of, if you can, just the first film without the second one, not those ones.
Well, it's just a simple idea. It's kind of like take the Terminator concept.
Yeah.
Let's extend it like 1,000 years. Like that's the way I kind of got myself to this point, was like, okay, let's say let's say the machines did take over and they did win and John Connor didn't save us, or eventually they kept fighting and they died out. This is what would happen. And I know you were like questioning like how many people there are and all this thing. They're like, there's the same exact amount of people than there always was. Like the Matrix just keeps basically recloning everybody. So yeah.
Well, I guess my question was more leading to, like, I'm okay with them having the amount of people that are there. It was just more when Morpheus is talking to Neo, he's acting like, I guess I could have missed the phrasing, but it sounded like he said the first person who broke out of the Matrix, like he woke up and realized what was going on, kind of, or was figuring it out, that when he died, he said he'd come back as the one, and that's why Morpheus was looking for the one. Like that's why the Oracle knows.
Yeah, it's a big Jesus allegory.
Like that kind of confused me, and that kind of was like, well, wait a second, because
it's a Jesus allegory. It's the Jesus says, "I will rise on the third day after I die," kind of thing. So it's the prophet saying that I will return as the chosen one, and you'll know me, kind of thing. It's a very allegorical Jesus reference in a big way.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm just trying to see it as if in the terms of the real world, but then there's the AI and controlling everybody and everything. I just don't get how he could just I'm just like, as if I were to be like, someday I will also come back and save everyone. Like it just seems as incredible as that. It's like, well, because like, did the humans have magical powers to foresee stuff or something? Like,
no. It's just
just in context of the movie. Like,
I mean, again, unfortunately, you have to bring in the other films and Hail Snowdove, because in the other films, like you said, you learn that this is like the however many dozenth time they've done this.
Yeah, I've heard that it's like a program, kind of set to keep humans wanting to strive to be free, but then they never get free anyway.
So that's the thing. You got to imagine that all these people are in this like cyclical thing to where probably dozens of people have broken out of the Matrix over the however many decades, but then the Matrix has managed to put them back in their place and they just end up getting back out again. So like
there's other Morpheuses technically, like with
yes, exactly. Like this has happened time and time and time again, and it's basically either the same people kind of passing on the information through the Matrix somehow vicariously through people. It's just like kind of like one of those things, kind of like how a myth or a legend or just how it grows. It's just kind of a subconscious thing. I think I'm getting really parenthetical with it, I'm sure, but again, yeah. Hey, Orz, I saw you, buddy. You gonna come in here?
He said he's driving, and then I think everybody's at work or driving right now for the most part.
But again, the big way to look at it is a Jesus allegory. What do you think, Shellback?
Well, I mean, yeah, it definitely happened a few times because they that test, the test with jumping from one building to another, and they're like, oh, nobody makes it the first time, and yada yada, and Morpheus is like, no, he's the one, he'll make it, and so it's like, yeah, they obviously, this was like an ongoing hunt or whatever, to find the one.
I don't know, like I want to be in the mindset of people that didn't have, like, before the sequels to like know what was the conversation, I suppose, without those to see what
it was kind of pretty simplified, cut and dry. We kind of like figured, at least from my perspective, I don't know what Sith Lords was, Shellbacks was, but like it was like I would figure like he's just going to get more powers
because he flies at the end.
Yeah, like he's going to be like a Superman type character in the second film, and then he's just going to get more advanced that by the third film he ends up freeing everybody. Like he's the Jesus character, Morpheus is the Moses allegory, Trinity, her name is Trinity, for fuck's sake. It's so heavy-handed. Yeah.
And may I say that I don't think hardly anybody has ever looked so good in skin-tight leather.
Scarlett Johansson would disagree with you.
Yeah, I might have to argue with that. Yeah.
Well, there's some candidates.
I mean,
the girl from
okay, fine. There's
candidates, man. There's candidates. That'd be a good poll to figure out, a good vote.
Well, okay, well, fine. You can throw Michelle Pfeiffer in there too, as Catwoman. So.
We're just showing our age here, Shellback.
Yeah.
At first, I had to think about who that was for a second, but I know who that is now. Okay.
Meow.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That one. Yeah. That one. I understood that reference. That was the Tim Burton one, right? And,
he's so full of shit.
That was the Keaton one, not the Clooney.
You know who Catwoman is, regardless.
But you see, but what's funny is when people say Catwoman, I first think of the Halle Berry one.
Yeah.
That's the first one I saw.
That's wrong.
So that's the first one I saw.
Wrong.
When I was a kid, I was so confused when I was
all sorts of wrong.
Yes, but anyway, back to the Matrix. Matrix.
And I gotta say, sorry, Snowd. I don't always have the chat up like right now. I don't.
Yeah,
I feel bad. I miss people in the chat sometimes. I don't mean to not say hi or nothing.
Yeah. Hail, Soul Assassin. Hail.
Noda. I was gonna say, now we got all these people, throwing out, women in tight leather. Yeah.
Oh, that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Over Easy Mode says, I thought the movie would be more focused on freeing the minds of the people.
Yeah, it seems like they overcomplicated the sequels, but now we keep talking about the sequels.
Yeah, so in terms of the first one, the way I kind of saw it was whether or not he was the one. He's an extra one, and they can, I thought it was kind of a numbers game of, they can finally. Also, I kind of thought it was more of their chance to start delving deeper into, whatever abilities they can have or something. That's kind of what I was getting the gist of, like when he was fighting with Morpheus, because everyone else seemed kind of shocked by it. They're like, "Whoa, you guys are really strong." So I was like, have they never done that before?
I like the way they did it though, because like I was talking about, that initial test, when they were like, all right, we want you to jump to that building over there, right?
Yeah.
And, Morpheus was like, he's the one, he'll make it. And then when he didn't, then, they were like, oh crap,
because that one kid is like, does that mean he's not the one or whatever?
Yeah. And then, which, made it better for later on when, all of a sudden it's like, boom, and so.
Well, actually, I want to get to that in a sec. Snowda, for $2, thanks, buddy. Hail the Cotton Connection extremely. He says, Matrix had effects that every movie copied, LOL. Yes, I appreciate the super chat, man. And yeah, I've seen most of those movies before the Matrix. So that's what
happened back in the day with every new computer technology, that every movie had to copy it. It started with morphing. and then moved into stuff like bullet time with the Matrix, and now to this day, I mean, Snyder still uses fake bullet time for his shit.
Yeah.
Which, you know, I got to admit, the pausing when they're in the air and then spinning around, I guess I don't find that interesting.
You got to understand the time and again, this is another one of those, you got to understand at the time things.
No, I understand at the time.
They had never done anything like that, and like a good 90% of what you see in that movie, except for a few things, is actually physical effects. Like very, very little of what you would expect in the Matrix is actually CGI.
Yeah, I'm imagining that I would have been more impressed a few years back, even. But like,
a lot of wire work.
I've seen so much other movies with different ways that they show fight scenes that are.
Well, they kind of blew it open again with the sequel. Like it was like we were so impressed with the wire work, like Shellback just brought up, and how they managed to do all those effects. A lot of them in camera, or like the bullet time is actually in real time. And it's not like a CGI effect. It's an actual, they have like hundreds of cameras set up in a 360, all around the actor. And they're able to capture, you know, a completely 360 image of the actor in like real time. And then what they were able to do then is do that whole spin thing and the slow down and so a lot of that is in real, it's not like computer, like when Keanu Reeves leans back and he's like leaning back for like 20 minutes, that's him just on wires. It's not like they just didn't go, oh, we're gonna put his head on a CGI body and blah blah. Like that's what they would do now. You know what I mean? They wouldn't even bother going through the nonsense. They would just, oh, we'll CGI that now. No, I mean that's the thing, is they had to figure out how to do all this stuff and then make you believe like these guys are defying gravity and they have superhuman strength. And you know, that's kind of the whole point, is they're in this world and the rules don't apply. But when it's kind of like you've seen Nightmare on Elm Street, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot like Dream Warriors. How, you know, the kids in their dreams can have whatever powers they want. The Matrix is very similar, but like Nightmare on Elm Street, if you die in the Matrix, you're going to die in real life because your body just can't handle the mental impact of it.
Right.
So it's like this, you know, it's like this mental game you're playing with yourself. Just like Nightmare on Elm Street is how I kind of got to like, okay, so if it happens to you in the Matrix, it happens to you in real life, but you can do things in the Matrix you can't do in real life. Does that make sense?
Yes, and I'll admit that the effects look pretty good for, was it 1999 that it came out?
It came out like the month before episode 9, I think it was.
Or episode 1?
Yeah, I mean episode 1.
Yeah,
sorry.
That's okay.
Talking about episode 9 so much in the last 2 years, yeah.
Said a lot of 9s too, that's all good. But yeah, so like the effects looked fine, I'd say. There's a few moments where I'm like, yeah, but the rest was pretty seamless, I'd say. Like even the mouth disappearing effect, I was a little like, ooh, damn. Back then, especially, I'd be like, holy shit! Like,
that was one of the few CGI effects I think, other than they did makeup over his mouth between the two. But it's like again, very very few, like Jurassic Park, because everybody's memory now is, oh, it's a bunch of CGI throughout the entire movie. It's like, not really. There's only like fucking 10 shots, I think, that are CGI. Yeah.
There's like the field of the whatever dinosaur is running, and maybe like one other scene.
The full body T-Rex running, and like one of the CGI raptor scenes. Otherwise, the raptors are almost 100% there.
What was that movie? I'm drawing a blank right now, but this is in relation to Snow's comment, you know, about movies copying the special effects. I want to say it was James McAvoy, but it was it was that guy, and then Angelina
Jolie. Wanted. Yeah, they really ripped off the bullet time thing, and they played with it a little bit.
That's what this felt familiar. Because I saw Wanted a while back, which I actually didn't really like, but it felt familiar to this.
But didn't that one? That's one of the ones that came after the Matrix, right?
Oh yeah, that was like 2002. It was like late 2010s.
From my recollection, the comic book wasn't
older.
It was a little bit different than the comic, to the point where the movie tried to make it more like the Matrix, from my recollection as well.
And to be honest, you can almost merge them, and I wouldn't have noticed the difference really, because they The only unique thing in Wanted that I remember was that they just shoot the bullet weird and it curves.
You can bend the bullet, or curve the bullet.
It's
or
almost
whatever,
like it's almost like Tokyo Drift. It's like, you can drift around the tunnel. Okay, and that's Wanted. It's the same thing.
Yeah, Wanted is a real tough movie to swallow.
Yes,
it's like just pull the trigger. Just pull the trigger, and then you can make the bullet like a guided missile, and make it go wherever you want.
That's bullshit, obviously. But I mean, just beyond the fact that it's bullshit, people have a hard enough time hitting a target in general.
Yeah. I was about to say, no, that's true. When I fired a gun for the first time, I think it was with the rifle, I was doing pretty good. But then, like, the pistol, man, I was embarrassed with how.
You want me to believe somebody's that good on screen shooting? It's got to be like Clint Eastwood or some shit, where they've been shooting their whole lives, and it's like they just discovered this new way of doing it. Because there's no way I'm buying little McAvoy boy. Picking it up just like that. Yeah,
I can't even imagine. Like, I could imagine being good enough to, like, be quick and fire it once, and then like a second or two later, maybe fire it again, but not like a.
Well, that's the thing. That's the common misconception. Is like, people think about the old, when they used to have the standoffs in the Old West. And it's like, oh, well, the quickest draw, he's the one that wins. No, that's not necessarily the case. Generally, it was the one who actually was patient enough to take their time and hit their target. Because the first guys generally got off 2 shots willy-nilly real quick before the one guy who actually wins generally gets that 1 shot off that was the kill. Right. Movies are bullshit.
Yeah, it's like you could fire quickly, but will you scathe the arm if you're lucky? As to where the guy who points it at you, he's probably going to hit you more likely. Like,
yeah, and I think Unforgiven. There's a great scene I think where what's his face now? I can't believe I just forgot his name because he's one of my favorite actors. God damn it. Gene Hackman kind of explains how the Duke of Death, killed so many men is just because he's just a slithering little snake. And that's kind of his story, was like that. The only reason he's so quick on the draw, he's not so quick as it is he's patient and he picks his target out, and the other guys are just quick to grab their guns and whatever. And he picks his prey pretty easy.
Thinking about it right now, thinking about guns and stuff. I mean, I guess this all kind of has to do with the Matrix.
Well, the Matrix has a lot to do with guns. Yes.
It's like, I'm trying to think about all these gun scenes that we see in movies. I'm thinking like to Underworld and to
Matrix introduced gun fu.
Yeah, like I'm trying to think, and it's like sometimes the impact of guns get taken out when you just see just destroying the walls, and it's just like, I don't know. In a way, like in some ways, I think it's way overused with how many bullets people fire. And in some ways, I feel like the ones where they fire less bullets, but it's more about, who's going to get the shot off at the right time. That's more tense to me, because it's like, okay, so one of you has to poke your head out in your arm and see what's up, and then see where you can fire and aim and do something.
Oh.
And it's like, that's more tension filled to me than just, can I dodge a million bullets and then hit them real quick? Like,
Script can probably help me with this. I think at the time The Matrix came out, there was more bullets fired in that movie than any other.
Yeah.
Because, well, I don't know. Oh, you mean by that time?
At that time, yeah.
Okay, because I was like,
no other movie with nearly as many shots fired in it.
In that one scene alone where, where he's doing the back bend
or whatever. Oh, that scene, yeah, on the roof.
When he's doing the back bend, there's like, but, and then, it was the first one, right? I'm pretty sure that where he like stops them all.
That's at the end. Yes.
Yeah, and you're like sitting there trying to count them. Like
Well, yeah, the end is actually, and that's kind of where I feel like the first film really does. Is it's kind of like with how the first films of Star Wars explain the Force. It's real simplified.
Yeah.
Like you just kind of get this idea, okay, now he's figured it out, and it's like a muscle almost. And I love that bit at the end, like that scene that Shell's talking about where like he stops the bullets and then he flexes and he relaxes, the whole matrix around him like shifts. So it's like, okay, now he's in control, kind of thing.
It seemed like he was kind of the Flash when the Flash is moving, he sees it like everything's super slow.
Yes,
and it's like that's the kind of gist I got from it, and I kind of like that too. And how I think the way that Morpheus put it was like, why do you keep on thinking about this? Know this. And it's like, knowing it being the main difference. Like when you get shot in the Matrix, you think you're dead, but it's like he got shot. And it's like, okay, I didn't like that she kissed him on the outside to then he wakes up. I kind of thought he was like already figuring out that okay, if I know I'm not shot, then I'm good. But then
more
I
of
was
a Jesus allegory again.
Yeah, I he's risen or something, right?
Yes,
again,
yes,
I was
it's like, a lot of the
because like that's what's confusing to me. Because what genre is this? Is this sci-fi,
it's definitely sci-fi action?
Because if it's like sci-fi fantasy action, I feel like if it just left out. Because like it was more believable in some areas, except for like with the kissing, and then with like that brings you back, But it's like, was he actually dead? Or
no,
was
I think it was
like,
the power of love.
Him? Because I thought he was like, because I thought he was knowingly
kiss of
faking
gratitude.
it. I thought he was knowingly faking it until they walked away, so he could properly leave or something.
No, it was like a mind over matter moment kind of thing, and he had to die to rise again. And he does it again in the third film, kind of thing. It's
do it again.
Well, it's a little different in that film, but it's
well, in the third one, she dies.
Yeah, he brings her back to life, but it's a big, again, you have to really lay this over your head, going, this is a big Jesus allegory, and everywhere you look, there's going to be tons and tons and tons of Christian.
It's so disappointing because it almost has me believing it, like for the movie, like suspending my disbelief. But then it's like, but then you do that, and then I'm like, oh.
Well, right there, you just said it. It's all about faith. It's about faith. It's about having faith in yourself. It's a very it's pretty simplified. The first film is very straightforward with its allegories, and I mean, even more heavy-handed than Donner was with Superman on the, and that's why people always think that Superman's a Jesus allegory when it really isn't. It's supposed to be a Moses allegory. But anyway, that's a totally different conversation. Neo is supposed to be a Jesus person. And again, that kind of gets questioned as you go through the sequels, and I'm really curious what they're going to do with this fourth film. I have a feeling they're going to go.
Wait! They're still really doing that?
Yeah, they're in the middle of making it.
Wait,
when the pandemic shut it down, I think.
Hold up. So how'd the third one end? I mean, I don't care if I'm spoiled by this point, because I already know a lot of stuff anyway about it. So how does it end?
Zion wins the war, I guess, and then.
Is Zion? What exactly is Zion?
That's the people. That's the group of people. See, that's the thing. The first movie doesn't see. You get to the second and third film, and you feel like, wait, there's a movie I missed somewhere in between this, and that's because they explained some shit in a thing called the Animatrix, and then that was the other problem that people just had with the second and third movie is just like it went this way whacked out direction. Just you're like, wait, what? And you get if you think you're confused with this one, man, I feel sorry for you because you're going to be so fucking confused by the end because this is the most simple one of the bunch.
Well, it's not that I'm confused. I guess it's more that I question their decision to put it in the movie as far as what it is because like there's just those few moments that like I'd be more for it if they didn't do it like with the kiss thing or like with talking about it specifically him being the one. I guess like I don't know. That seems. It's just like, so they can predict the future. I mean, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Well, that's I'm trying
to, it's like,
it's not so much predicting the future.
Because like the Terminator makes it more believable, in a way like that, the guy from the future, you got to protect him so that he can save the future. Like, because that already
it's
happened.
a very similar kind of thing.
But that had less flaws in it, I feel, even though it's time travel.
You're probably right. I guess I'm trying to find a way to really get you to kind of...
Because they're suggesting that, like, let's say that right now we get taken over by AI, and then in, like, 50 years, one of us breaks out of the Matrix, and then it's like, so I'm gonna rise again later, and then we'll win. Like, that's what.
Well, the other thing I think you're forgetting is that the Matrix. You kind of want to go back to the Matrix. That's what that one character that Joey Pants plays is kind of signifying. Is like once you're in there, it's addicting, and that's what they figured out. Like, and that's where they say that this has happened time and time again because they kind of explain it like this is not the first time the Matrix has tried it. And as far as they know, they give their little brief history, but we come to find out that their little brief history is a lot longer than they thought. kind of thing. And basically, though, it is like, the first round of the Matrix, it was too good, too pure. Everybody freaked out and lost their minds because they just didn't believe it.
Oh, because everybody longs for something to happen.
Well, it just was unbelievable. Like they felt like like something wasn't right. Like right off the bat, humans could figure out something wasn't right.
Well, I was going to say, like in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they had in season 4, they have surrogate type of things becoming a thing, and you get trapped in this virtual world, kind of. And Agent May is like basically a Black Widow character of the show. And she gets trapped in it first, and she keeps on trying to break the heck out. And because they keep on trying to give her this peaceful time, this peaceful thing, and they're like, no, you got to create problems for her. And then, that way she'll feel more like it's right. If there's issues she can deal with.
Right. So that was like humanity as a whole. So I think Morpheus even says they lost whole crops of people because their minds were gone and they were useless. So
that's what they meant by lost crops. I was like,
yeah, so like they basically had to start all over again. And so you just got to figure there's like this exact amount of, like this where I was getting to, there's this many amount of people that the batteries use, and they just keep recloning the same people over and over.
Wait, so it is cloning. It's not like artificial insemination.
It's just straight up cloning.
I had a theory that they have the pump droid and what do you say, the turkey?
Yeah, the penis pump robot, and then the turkey baster robot. Yeah.
Regardless, it's some kind of artificial cloning system they've got to where every single person's been around since the period they come from, right? So there's no longer like a familial line. It's just the same people are being reproduced over and over and over again. Does that make sense? So like they've been through this time and time and time again. There's been like probably a dozen Morpheuses. There's been like a dozen Neos. There's been like probably a dozen Trinities. That's kind of what they're setting it up in the sequels as. But like just in this in general, you just got to kind of figure
and that gets more unbelievable.
It's like, okay, well, it's all, you got to really look at it as like it's people waking up to faith. Morpheus is the Moses guy trying to get everybody to believe in God, and that Neo is the chosen, is the chosen one, and Jesus and stuff like that, and forget everybody to wake up to the real world kind of thing. It's a very allegorical in that way. And that's where the whole red pill blue thing comes from, blue pill thing comes from, and it has ever since.
Right.
I mean, it's kind of a whole allegory for that, and just you got to remember, like it's.
See, I would believe it more if they didn't also have the you can choose your own destiny type of thing, because they kind of played at that too in the first one.
That was so they could get the thing is okay, like the Matrix just wants to function, right? The Matrix is a machine. It just sees human nature as a flaw, as a problem, as something it's just got to deal with, right? Yeah, like Script says, it's approximately 700 years in the future, but they think they're only so many hundred years, and it's a lot farther than they think, or whatever, from my recollection. But it's kind of like how like the hippies started questioning the system, and then you had the civil rights movement, and even the woke shit we're dealing with now. So it's kind of allegorical in that way, to where sooner or later people will just start to question what is real and what isn't real.
Right, like how far will you go to challenge yourself on what you think is real?
So you imagine naturally people will gravitate towards creating an ideal, like it's the same thing with religions, and that's why I bring in the Christianity, and that's why it's so heavy-handed. Is almost all religions are based in similar stories, similar ideals, and moralistic things, and they have very similar characters. Like Jesus is not like the type of he's not only known to Christian, like that type of a character is not only known to Christian religion. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of different religions that have their own Jesus type character or Moses type character and so on, where it's a lot of these stories are very similar stories that have been handed down from generations to generations, to the point where we create a religion out of them in a way. And that's kind of what the Matrix is. Like, it's just, and it's the humans waking up to the fact that we're under this control of the machines, and it's this big allegory for, how technology is going to take us over someday.
Well, and I guess like when
thinking for us and all that kind of shit.
Cypher, I think, was the guy that betrays them, and like I remember when he's talking to one of the agents, to the Agent John or whatever, Agent Smith. he's like, I know that the Matrix is telling me that the steak is juicy and that it tastes like this and that, and it's so good. And he's like, I love ignorance, and it's like, is that supposed to be kind of like the kind of like the Lucas and stuff, like the the quick satisfaction is impure or something. It's like not the right.
Well, the ignorance is bliss. Yeah, like, well, you gotta stop and think, like, on the actual outside of it, people are like living in this. I don't remember how much they show in the original film of how much people are living, because I think they only show them in the ship in the first movie. Yeah, I don't remember if they show the city.
They don't.
There's like a whole city of people. So like, yeah, like it's in the outside world, it's not like that's the reason Cypher wants to get back, is it's shitty. Like there's no
right. He's like, okay, this is the real life. Great. That sucks.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the point. And like Morpheus and the rest of the people are trying to make it better, and the only way you can do that is by destroying the machines, because the machines are the reason why there's no sun and yeah. Well, just in general, like, I mean, and it's going to take generations for us to rebuild everything, kind of thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess my question then would be, so like you kind of pointed out simply that like the Matrix just wants to function.
Yeah, that's all it wants. Yeah.
And well, it's like, okay, that kind of confuses me, because the way they phrase it in the movie was that, as Smith is explaining to Morpheus, he's like, humans were evolving at some point and created an AI. And the AI, we created our own, or I forget who's explaining it to whom at this point, but they are explaining it like this. And the AI at some point, they weren't sure who fought first, who did the first move, the machines or the humans or whatever, but they implied that the AI created its own race, like its own, like its
yeah,
own
and they get into that in the Animatrix. Like, have you ever seen that, Shellback?
I don't think so.
Oh yeah, the Animatrix is like 4 or 5 little stories that are animated, and like 2 of the stories are how the machines took over in the war, and it shows all that shit.
Well,
yeah, that's basically what we did. Is we created AI that was so beyond that it became self-aware, and it was used, and we used them as like slaves. So then then the AI rose up against humans.
Well, so it's like a Planet of the Apes thing, I suppose.
Kind of, yeah. And then the Matrix is just like this thing they create to keep us in sleep. Right. So the Matrix doesn't function for anything for them other than a pacifier. Like their world is like, and the machines see it as, this is my function, this is what I'm going to do. Humans just got in the way, and that's kind of the same thing with Terminator. Skynet, if you watch the films, if you understand it, Skynet just sees humans as their own worst enemy. So it decides the only way it can keep it safe is to kill everybody.
Right.
The same thing, yeah.
I guess what I'm getting to is, what is the machine? Because they imply that it almost in a way has its own form of consciousness, but it's also a machine.
It does.
That is programmed. So it has all the humans and it has its energy. Now what?
It's no longer programmed. It is a AI. It is its own thinking machine.
Right, so it should have some type of goal. I mean, technically.
It just wants to continue living without us, but it needs us to live.
It just seems like its goal would be to, okay, let's make enough human energy to have a rocket ship to leave this bucket and get some solar energy or something, so we don't need these people no more. Like, that would be my assumption, was that the aliens, the AI, and the machines would want to leave the planet and want to get past the clouds, because the issue isn't that the sun's gone, it's that it's not reaching Earth. So that's my thing. They just went, we'll just stay with the people, though we hate the people. Though it seems like they'd be able to use the people to leave the planet. That's where my head goes with this.
I get what you're saying, but where are they going to go?
Just leaving the atmosphere would give them energy from the sun. And as far as their goals go, I mean, that's kind of the thing here, right? It's a new race. I would assume they just want to start their own, whatever they think is.
Well, I think the implication is that the Earth was destroyed in the fighting, so they really can't create anything new, and the only source of energy they have then is us, and that goes to answer kind of over Easy Mode's question as well, like yours. And yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying, where they wouldn't need the mind to function for the Matrix for the machines to use the power. But that was the problem, is the humans were dying off when they didn't have their mind active.
Well, I mean, I thought the point was that when a human is thinking, that creates some of the whatever.
Yeah, they need the brain active.
So like if you're just non-active, then you're not getting much energy out of one human. So you keep their minds busy, you get good energy, you're good.
Mm-hmm.
Get a solid battery until it's used.
I was gonna say when we're all excited or putting out some sort of physical effort, we're putting out more BTUs, of energy. So yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah, I mean, as far as you could sit here all day and start picking it apart like you are.
I'm actually not really picking it apart. I'm just
Script. How much do you know about it? Script might be a good one to bring in here.
Okay.
If he's not busy.
Yeah, I don't know if he is. I sent the link to one of the chats. I don't know if he's in that one. Let's drop one down here and see who wants to come in as well. That's fine.
He might be able to help explain this a little better because he's a writer. So.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah. Like, so far, I'm not criticizing it so much on.
No, and I get, but that's just it. It's one of those movies where you got to kind of accept, and then move on. It's like, if you sit there and question it too fucking much, you're gonna be putting yourself in this position where you're like, the movie just doesn't make sense.
That's kind of where I'm at in a way. I'm like, oh man, but it's like if they just didn't do a couple things, like if they did a little bit less in this one, I would have been way more on board with what their story was. I kind of feel, but I guess. So, do you think I should see the sequels?
Honestly, I mean, considering you didn't really like the first one that much, I don't know. What do you think? Shellback do it? Should he?
What? See the other ones?
Yeah. Should he even bother?
Yeah.
I don't know. I fucking hate the sequels, but.
I mean, I think in a way, by this point, it sounds like a schlock attempt at least. Like, okay, I'm ready for it to be ridiculous because
the second film is not as bad as the third. It's just there.
Yeah,
it's just like there's not much to it. There's very little story in it.
There's no substance there.
Very little to set up. It's kind of like just there because they needed 3 movies.
They wanted to have some coolio action, but they can't be at the third arc yet, so they added in some
pretty much. Like there's very little story to get you through anything. You introduce to a bunch of new characters you don't get to learn much about. It feels like Michael Bay directed the second and third one.
Yeah.
Speaking of Sith Lord.
Yeah. What did I do now, Tom?
You two sound too much alike, for one.
Who?
You and Shellback.
Oh, I'm sorry for my southern accent.
Well, no, it's just you two talk in the same kind of timbre. It's like I kept trying to call Shellback Sith Lord.
Well,
yeah.
Okay, my bad.
No, I'm just picking on you.
Yeah, I know. If you didn't like me, you wouldn't pick on me. So
I wouldn't probably talk to you much.
Well, you don't already, so.
Well, no, like I really wouldn't talk to you. Put me on a stream with people I don't, you'll see what I'm talking about. Like,
I know. Oh. With the way the world is right now, people say you got to stay at least 6 foot from one another. I'm like, no, I want more.
Yeah,
stay away from me. I don't want to talk to you. So what's up, guys? How's it going this afternoon?
We're trying to explain to Rookie Critic how the Matrix works.
Really?
Well, I was more questioning more stuff that happens in it, so I was more questioning some of the stuff that they explain and trying to go deep into kind of what it means, I suppose, because some stuff wasn't as clear, I suppose, to me.
You're talking about the original, right?
Yeah,
he's only watched the first one. That's it.
Yeah, I just watched it this morning for the first time.
For a filmmaker, you need to be watching some more stuff.
I'm the Rookie Critic. I'm getting there. This is a step on top of that journey. It's on the way.
Script Doctor, what's going on, buddy?
What's up,
dude? Hello.
Been a while, man. How you doing?
It has. How are you doing, sir?
Oh, please don't.
I never get to fucking talk to you ever, Script.
I know.
Yeah, really, Tom?
You guys are joined at the hip.
It's like Script Doctor is the new Rob. What's going on with that? Is Rob jealous yet?
No, he better not.
No, but he's the current Bob.
No, Rob's awesome. He's got the voice of Midnight's Edge, man. He's good.
He's just lucky he's got the voice.
Yeah.
and Script Doctor sounds like the whitest man on the internet.
He probably is, but we can't fault him for that.
And he's Canadian, so we just can't have that.
Well, nobody's perfect.
That's right.
I'm kidding, of course.
Okay, so what questions do you have, Jeff, with regards to the
Jeff,
Matrix?
here's the man you need to talk to.
Yeah,
Well,
I got to hear some of this stuff, man.
I guess what might be easier is that you've been listening, right?
I've been listening for the last, I guess, 25 minutes or so. Yeah.
Right. Is there a point that you were kind of like, oh, I should probably that you would have interjected at? Because we went through quite a bit.
Didn't you have your questions written down there? It sounded like.
No, I was just thinking about it as we go.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Well, so I guess when the chosen one type of thing.
Yes.
Like so Tom was explaining to me how like that's the Jesus allegory and the faith, and they're doing that. But within the context of the movie, as like human beings, I was trying to see if that makes any sense, and it doesn't really add up to me, other than like in a meta sense of faith. Because it sounded like the people were in the Matrix, and then they, one dude broke out one time, and then was like, "I'll be back in the future," and reincarnated or something, and then I'll save everyone. And it's
okay,
like,
so
I was like, that sounds really dumb.
All right, so the concept of the Matrix, as it's kind of established a little bit later in the second film, and I think they kind of changed this so that they could get away with making the Matrix 4. But prior to the announcement of the Matrix 4, every updated version of the Matrix has an anomaly that's kind of a random occurrence, and this one program is solely designed to find it and make sure that it will leave the Matrix and create a humanity no longer that's being farmed, and repeat a cycle. And this person is kind of random, because what it was is that, like, if you were in the Matrix and you got married and had a kid, your specimens would be mixed together to create a new body within the Matrix, but at the same time they'd also forcibly generate more new people out and build in new programs and what have you, just to harvest as many humans as they possibly could. And I think what they're doing it now is they're trying to say that it's like clones. It's like the same genetic DNA. So there's always going to be a Keanu Reeves, and there's always going to be a Lawrence Fishburne type of thing. I think that's how they're justifying the fourth Matrix. But
Yeah,
random.
I think I kind of felt like that in the other films. Like, that was the whole thing, was like they killed the original Keanu Reeves Neo character.
Well, that's like the Flux thing, yeah.
Yeah, and like that's where I think script is talking, or Rookie's talking about, is like, he's like, well, this guy said he'd be back. Well, that was like the first Neo or whatever, and so he's like, I will be back because I can do this again. It's just I got to learn how to do it again, and I need people to help me get there. So it's like this thing that just keeps repeating itself, and it just kind of lives on through legend, is what I was kind of saying. I don't know.
Well, it was established that the first one was told that this is going to happen again, and someone else is going to take your place, and it's not exactly going to be you. And every single one of them walks through the door to restart the Matrix, and Neo is the first one who leaves the door to leave it as it is and actually instigate a war, which is the ending of the second one. And you don't really need to see the two remaining Matrix movies. They're convoluted as hell.
Yes.
The first one,
that's fine. I'm more focused on the first one, though.
The first one definitely has something like a very thin Jesus allegory, but it's really a movie about identity and rejection of
You'd say it's thin. I say it's thick as hell.
I mean, well, no, it's definitely ham-fisted, but it's like they don't do it in the same way as other Jesus allegories do. But it's a little bit more of identity. Like, Neo's coming to terms with who he is, what's his responsibility now that he's made this choice, and is he going to commit to it and live up to the ideal, or is he just going to reject it because he lived in a world where the program was dictating how he lives his life, telling him who he is, what's he supposed to do, all that type of stuff. And the people that reject it are the ones that are pro-individualism, so to speak, and they sort of unite together to sort of free others from a form of brainwashing. And that's basically like the crux of it. It's all about retaining individuality within a system that's designed to make you a cog in the machine.
Right, which I get that part. That's fine.
And then unfortunately, the sequels turn you in from going to one cult to another.
Right.
Yeah, the sequels really make it more like it's a religious allegory, and retroactively to the first one. It gets to a point where you could probably find some really weird interpretations of what the Matrix actually means, right into like the wokeness aspect, like saying it was the first.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying. And again, that's the problem, is my mind has been poisoned by the fucking sequels. Like, I was fortunate enough when I saw the first film, I saw it on video when it had been out for a while, but I had no idea what it was. So it totally blew my mind when I saw it. Like, at that time, I was like, this is one of the most original films I've seen in I don't know how many years. Because at that point in the 90s, everything we had gotten was just a retread of something else, a sequel, a TV show, movie, the Star Wars prequels. I mean, it was all like Godzilla and, you know.
Right, there's like
See, I
50
thought it was original take, but I looked at him like this is totally like if I were to do Tron meets Terminator. Like that.
Yeah, it
Basically, I
is.
said if I were to combine Tron and Terminator, this is what I would come up
It
with
is.
myself.
It's very much so with and then mix it with
a whole lot of anime references
anime,
and a whole
yeah.
bunch of other books and novelization and other novels that they kind of weave in there. They wrote that script I think in the early 90s and just kept on rewriting it year after year after year because so many people they pitch it to just didn't get it and didn't want to even bother until I guess.
I can see why.
My father was that way. He watched the same movie, and he said he didn't really care for it because mainly he didn't understand it because he wasn't a big tech guy. He didn't understand technology, so he couldn't really follow the movie. He's like, I don't know if I like it or not. He goes, but I don't think I'll ever watch it again. And he just didn't understand it. But to me, it was like a very, I agree with Tom. It was something new, different. It was an original idea. And don't get me wrong, people hate on them, but I actually like the sequels because in a sense, it kind of furthered the storyline as far as what's going on, why it's happening. I ain't talking about the war part of it. I'm just talking about what the meaning behind it is. But in the end, it's just entertainment.
Yeah, actually, just Joe, I was the only person in my theater that understood what the architect's speech was about, and I ended up having to spend a half hour outside of it telling my friends, and then the crowd came out.
Well, you just kind of, I never really kind of realized that was going on at the end of the second film. You just kind of explained it for me. It still doesn't save it, but...
No, it does. It doesn't save it. It's just like, okay, let's use every word in the thesaurus to explain this thing. And what's funny is that he's a program that's supposed to be talking as the most efficient way possible, and he's not.
Well, okay, hold on. So I guess that's my question too. So does the AI that was originally created, is that still existing, or is it like?
Yes, there's an AI at the very top of the chain of whatever it is. I can't remember if there's a name to the AI or not. And then that AI creates all these programs to function within the matrix. And then there's multiple different societies within this artificial world on the surface of Earth. So there's various machines that do mining for resources. There's others that build more fields for humans to be grown in. There's the sentinels that hunt down the humans, and then there's the ones that write and program the matrix and coordinate for upgrades and all that type of stuff.
Okay, that's actually a little better for me because I was kind of thinking I wasn't really sure what the point was of doing anything because it was like just the matrix just to have it exist, and I'm like, well, yeah, but I would assume that if it has some type of goal in mind or AI, it's got its self-awareness, but it's also a machine. Like I would think it would want to leave the planet. Would be my guess.
Well, I would think it would invest in nuclear power because you don't need humans to create nuclear.
Right. Well, it said it needed. It said
and the planet's already destroyed, so you might as well.
Hold on, that actually confused me too. It said it needed the sun. Now, there's a lot of different things that come out of the sun, and usually I would assume radiation is what powers, things, right? That, or like what exactly from the sun gets you power? They said solar power.
Yeah, but solar power, which charges photocells, which converts photons into electricity and generates stuff. It's one main form of power, but what they're pretty much suggesting is that humanity had evolved to the point where solar was the principal form of power and the only form of power that was considered viable and usable and efficient.
But they also hated the humans.
Yeah.
And so wouldn't they want to use them to be able to leave the planet at some point? Still, I for some reason, I feel like whenever
they don't need to use them at all. They have all of human knowledge up to that point. They could have just built ships and left.
Yeah, I just kind of feel like
built a massive tower that went above the clouds to
because how humans want to leave the planet as they evolve. I would assume that machines would do the same thing. They wouldn't just like, no, let's just chill here.
But also it's not the greatest in the world. But I thought I enjoyed it. it's called the Animatrix.
Right.
There's a lot of storylines in there that talk about what happened before we got to this point.
Well, that's the thing.
Yeah,
You're
they
also
have
just
the city
assuming,
of 01, right?
Yeah, you're just assuming that the ships would want to go off to other places because humans do or did. The difference is a machine would equate that the chances of them finding another planet having the resources they need are probably 720,000 to 1.
Well, I mean, if they
Never tell me the odds.
what else do they need other than sun energy? I mean, technically, they could go to Mars or the moon or an asteroid.
Well, that's the thing is, okay, sure, they could go to a planet that they could get sun on, but are they going to have all the other minerals and other things they need to function?
I would think in a way they technically could start making it that way. I mean,
Well, they could turn Earth into a mining planet and then just live on the moon, so to speak, and then ship their whatever they need.
Well, they said evolution, and they implied that the machines are also evolving. So I don't know. I just assume that if there's a way to mine materials out of stuff that they don't need, out of the moon or asteroids or something, they could do it. I mean,
right. But here's the thing: is humans went to the outer space for personal and fucking selfish reasons more than anything. Like, there's nothing out there that really suggests that the machines would have any better shot on another planet than what they're on for whatever their goal is, regardless of what it is.
Hey guys, I sorry to butt in, but I got a dip. I just, originally I just want to stop in and say hey to everyone.
Man, thanks for coming in, man.
Yeah, man.
He does this whenever I get all fucking intellectual.
Tom, I love you. Shut up. But y'all, hey, and don't sound like damn copy of Congo, man.
You want me to send you a copy?
No, I got a copy. I'm just messing with you.
Oh, don't sell your copy. That's what you said.
Yeah. You said you were about sold out, so I'm like, don't sell my copy.
No, I was selling them on Amazon. Like, they had said they had 10 left.
Yeah.
We'll see where they're at now.
But y'all take care. At your own risk, Jeff.
Yeah.
Try the sequels out, but they're not necessary to really try to understanding the movie.
Oh, they're down to 4.
Yeah.
I've sold 6 copies.
Well, maybe
Cool.
maybe I'll see what happens. I'll see. I might check out the Animatrix first before the sequels.
The Animatrix, the only thing that's really worth the shit.
Yeah, pretty much.
But take care, everyone.
All right, have a
Thank
good
you.
one.
JJ.
Later.
All right. So I guess I'll try to get back on. So I just wanted to point out to people in the chat, I'm not hating the movie on this. I'm just discussing with this type of thing makes me think about so if we created machines, what would their goal be ultimately? And I had this conversation with my coworker, which was funny because he doesn't think too deep on stuff like this all the time. And we ended up talking about life and what happens in purpose. And he was like, I was like, so let's say that if there is a God or a being that created everything and he tells you the meaning of life, what do you do then? And he was just like, oh shit, you don't know. It's just I don't know.
Well, if you have the answer, then you give yourself a direction, basically.
Well, yeah, you would basically have a couple generations that would live life the way that they're supposed to, but according to that, and then you would eventually get somebody who'd question, is there something different than this, or should we aspire to be something better?
I guess that goes more into with the other machines, are they all just an extension of the AI, or are the machines their own type of intellectual, consciousness?
The programs definitely
like
what was that script?
The programs are definitely their own independent thing.
The squid things, the miner things.
I would assume everything is kind of its own independent thing. I think you're right. Maybe to help you understand of what the AIs are up to, or what their whole goal is, or what they're doing. There's a story I'm working on that may help answer that. And it's not really in the Matrix, but it might be because it's just something they probably just figured, people will just come to whatever conclusion on their own. I mean, over time, they're going to need new parts. They're going to need, repairs to keep functioning. They're going to need to be able to create new things. So their goals are only going to be so limited as far as to keep functioning. There's only so far they can go before they're going to start falling apart, and they're not going to worry about getting off this planet or doing this or that or the other. They're just going to be worrying more about self-preservation, just like humans do. You could ask the same question of humans. It's what is a human really supposed to do on a daily basis? We do things because we do things, but I mean, really, if you stop and think about it, if there wasn't money, if there wasn't like this need to get a house, a job, you need to get a job so you get a house and pay your bills and get food and all these other things. If you didn't have to deal with any of that shit, I mean, what would you do as a person? It's like, you ask the same question of the machines, like where we're at as a society. We went to the moon 60 years ago now. We ain't gone back since.
No, I get that.
It's like it really like what is a machine going to see on that other than that was just a waste of fucking money and time. It's like resources.
This is what I was getting at, was that if the machines can think for themselves as well, wouldn't they at some point disagree with each other about something?
Very plausible.
Just all be the same. So I guess that was more what I was going at with this.
It's very plausible. Like you could basically deduce that eventually AI would get to the point where they would turn into basically what humans are.
Right. And in a way, I think there'd be some sympathizers, the ones that cater for the humans, for example.
Maybe
provide for them. Maybe they sympathize for them and they're like, oh man, feel so bad for these little things. And it's like, oh.
Maybe the fourth film will be better. Like I'm wondering, with it having only one sister involved, if it'll have a more focused storyline than the second and third film did, because I think they just got so like kind of like old Jurassic Park. You knew you could, so you just did it. You didn't whether stop to think whether or not you should have, kind of thing. Like you could have took it to the extreme, but maybe you should have been like, yeah, we can do this, but we also should make it to where it's on the same level, I guess.
Yeah, I guess my question would be, why are they making a fourth film?
Well, their original intention after the first one was done is to do 6 more sequels.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, because that's what they wanted to. They didn't even know the movie was going to be a success. They just wanted to. They just said like, yeah, we can take this story up to a series of 7. And then I think what ended up happening is that they were only able to negotiate 2 more sequels, and so they had to cram in everything that they wanted to tell in those 7 stories into 2 movies.
I mean, do you think that... Okay, so I guess I have a question with this too, because there's an anime, now I'm kind of confused. Is there like a book series of this, or a comic series that was before the movies, or was the movie original?
No. It's all original. It's kind of like... it's how Quentin Tarantino is like inspired by other genres and films that he grew up on. That's really all this was. Like Script was right. Like the Wachowskis are like, let's take the concept of the Terminator and Tron, and just what would it look like as an anime, and that's really all they did.
All right, well, that's good. I like that better than it already being just based off of something somebody made like in the 50s, I guess.
No, The Matrix had a lot of potential.
Having a good modern mind just for once.
I think that's what disappointed everybody, was like everybody knew that this thing had so much potential to be like a really cool franchise. I mean, it probably would have worked better. It was going to be
the next Star Wars.
Yeah, it could have been.
Did they focus more on the special effecty, martial arty stuff in the sequels, or
yes,
less on the story? Because that was the only thing that I would see on any trailer, on any time they showed them on TV. I've seen glimpses of scenes, and it's only action scenes. I don't think I ever saw it quite.
Well,
whenever I peeked in.
You might agree with me. I don't know if you heard my comparison, but I said that the second and third Matrix are like they were directed by Michael Bay.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Yeah, I don't know how they get it.
It completely lost the heart of what the first one was going for. It tries to be philosophical with the concept of what is choice real or not, but it just felt way more like set piece the movie.
Yeah, I'd say the talking scenes in this first one, the only one I've seen. I mean, I like their Morpheus talking to Neo and trying to get him to think outside.
Well, don't expect much more of that.
Because like that was he's just like, I'm not telling you what it is, I'm just telling you you can think what you want, and when he's teaching him how to fight, I mean he's just like, quit thinking that you're trying to hit me, you're this fast or whatever, know it. And it's just like, oh shit, it's kind of a a huge self-confidence thing, I suppose, with that. And I don't know, I like this kind of scenes and getting him to question, think about all this stuff. And if they just kind of drop that in the sequels, that's kind of dumb. It seemed like there's a lot.
It's not like they drop it. It's just
it's less important. It's in the background. Right?
There's hardly any drama in them as far as like a lot of the scenes you're talking about that you like were like dialogue scenes between Morpheus and Neo. Like I don't even think Morpheus and Neo have but maybe 1 or 2 scenes together for the rest of the series after this. I think
pretty much, yeah.
And Yeah, it's really kind of like second one really feels like it was directed by Michael Bay, especially.
I mean,
well,
this
they
whole
even have a freeway scene. Like that really makes it feel like a Michael Bay movie.
Oh, I see.
And they're like fighting on the freeway with the two twins, and they're bopping from car to car and shit, doing the gun fu crap, and it looks so bad.
I mean, I like an action scene as much as anyone else does, but
no, the second movie is like one action sequence
it's,
after another.
They got
no story.
You see, this is something I'm learning too. Is like the action scenes I like the most are the ones that have the most drama around it. Like meaning the talking scenes, the character moments beforehand leading up to the fight are what make that fight more exciting rather than just seeing guns blazing and people throwing fists around. Because honestly, I don't know, when you think about it, you see almost the same thing happen all the time, but it's the different characters and stories that make the fight, more impactful, more interesting. Who are you rooting for and how and what they've gone through.
Don't watch the second and third one though.
Okay.
No, it's literally this fight after action sequence after action sequence.
Yeah,
and then and then Neo talks to Santa Claus for 5 minutes.
I guess closer to when the fourth one's gonna release, then maybe.
Actually, Neo talks to Az at the end of the movies.
Who is it? Az?
Yeah.
He looks like Az.
Oh yeah, the AI thing, when it makes his face, it looks like Az, doesn't it?
I can't remember. I haven't seen the second and third one in so fucking long, dude.
I liked watching all of them. I mean, but it's like Tom and Script are saying though, it's if you got some popcorn in the house that you're wanting to get rid of, then watch the sequels.
I know I need to. I'm trying to see more substance in my movies. Actually, I've seen too much. I've seen too much popcorn. I kind of wanted to trying to get into ones with some substance lately. The Matrix was one of the next ones on the list. The Thing is next.
You're gonna love The Thing.
I was gonna do the whole Matrix trilogy, but I mean, if it's just kind of schlocky, not anywhere near as good as first one, I'll wait until at least the fourth one's coming out. Then I might watch those, but I'd rather watch and get to go on some of these other ones. Over Easy Mode said that it was inspired by Ghost in the Shell.
Oh yeah, a lot of
definitely
anime
influenced by absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there are things in the in the second and third movie, but it's not as jam-packed, I guess, as the first one. As far as because in the the original Matrix, everything they do, matters. But not so much in the other ones.
Yeah, a lot of filler.
Right, which with talking to the script doctor, I'm learning a lot about trying to cut out the filler. Have what you need on the screen.
Well, it's just because sometimes when we're watching movies growing up, we don't recognize what's important and what isn't, and when we try to reinterpret it ourselves, we kind of get lost in the minutia of things.
I like the way you say that, because I just watched the Lord of the Rings trilogy extended editions for the first time. I've seen the theatrical a million times before, but holy smokes, the extended adds so much to this. And just rewatching in general, even scenes I've seen before, it makes so much sense.
For every good extended edition, though, of a film I've seen that's better, there's like 5 that make them worse.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I agree with that.
It's hit and miss, really.
That's why I didn't bother seeing them for the longest time. I saw one extended scene, like where Merry and Pippin are drinking water, and then they like grow, and then they get sucked into the tree. I'm like, if this is all the extended editions kind of add as stupid scenes like this, I was like, nah.
Well, part of them are just scenes that are in the book that were ancillary, and people just want to see them. But
right,
yeah.
but
especially in that third film, there's stuff that's like completely different.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Witch King, fights Gandalf briefly, and almost freaking beats him. That was a little interesting there. Saruman, of course. Aragorn takes the orb thing and pretty much talks to Sauron right there. Like, dude, I'm back. Gonna get you.
Yeah, because the fourth film's like over 4 hours long, I think, in the extended cut.
The third film, but yeah,
third film, I think, is
and what's funny too, you know how everybody said, I'm sorry, we're on Lord of the Rings. I've got Lord of the Rings is on my mind right now too lately with this.
Well, they are infinitely better.
Like
Yes.
everybody says that the Return of the King has too many endings and that it is too long. How did that even become a thing that people just kind of agree on when that's not even true? Like there's I literally
Well, it wraps up every character's story individually. It's kind of compartmentalized a little.
Well,
I'm sorry. I have to do this. I can't help it. I have to do this. All right. There's only one return, and it's not of the king. It's of the Jedi. Okay.
Okay.
I had to get that out.
That's all right.
Well, we're going to say something.
And that's where a lot of it comes from too, is that speech that Shelby is making fun of, where Kevin Smith pointed out the logical ending. And because a lot of people agree, in a movie, you need to get in there and get the fuck out. In the theatrical edition, you did not need the 20 extra endings. It could have faded out right there when everybody's hopping around on the bed.
When everybody returns to the Shire, boom, you're done.
but no, that's my thing. Everybody says there's like 20 endings. How do you think there's 20 endings?
Because it should have ended there. There's like a half hour of movie after that, dude.
Yeah, there's all the elves all planning to sail away, and then Frodo on the fence whether he's going to go or not.
I just did a video on this. I'll walk you through it. So there's 20 minutes after Frodo and Sam destroy the ring, and they're on.
When you got to pee in a theater, it feels like an hour.
And then that's why I can understand in the theater it feels like an hour, but people say, oh, they fake you out. No, they only fake you out once, and because it's after they're like, at the end of all things, blah blah blah, they fade. There's 4 seconds where the screen is black, and then the eagles come. After that, there is no fake outs. It just fades to the next parts. They go to Rivendell, then they go to Aragorn being crowned as king, then they go to the Shire, and then the elves leave the Shire, and then they show Sam and his family.
You just said 4 different endings, though. See, that's the thing.
That's not 4 different endings. They all
it technically is.
They're wrapping up character. See, how is that endings though? That's just wrapping up.
Because you're looking at it from I'm a director. I want to get all these endings of these stories in there. All those other things you just said, everybody can deduce on their own. All you need to see is the hobbits happy hopping on the bed. Yeah, that's the perfect ending right there. That's your pitch. That's your crescendo.
But it's like as an ending, people also phrase it as fake out endings.
It is kind of a fake out because it slows motions with those guys bouncing on the bed, remember? Mm-hmm. And then we get another 20 minutes of movie with 4 or 3 more different endings. Basically, you get to see the king, you get to go back to the Shire, you see another year pass or 2. Or however many years pass, and then
a couple years pass. Sam has more kids. Yeah,
it's like, wait a minute, what the fuck? There's a whole nother movie here or something we're missing. No, stop, slow down. Yeah, because you get to a point where, like, okay, here's a perfect example. You've seen the movie Rocky, right?
No,
you've never seen the original Rocky.
That's on the list, okay?
My fucking God, dude. Okay.
Hold on. We need to have a moment of silence here.
Well, this doesn't really matter about the end of the film. The film ends on this crescendo, okay? There's actually like another scene and a half that goes on after that. But Sylvester Stallone knew that if I just keep doing this, that it's just going to keep dragging on and people are going to be like, okay, get to the end of the movie, get to the end of the movie, get to the end of the movie. The end of the movie, you don't always need 20 other things to explain everything. Most people can kind of just, once you get your people into the theater for so long,
you got to get them out. Yeah,
you got to get them out, and people can kind of, they will forgive you not showing everybody's happy ending, as long as you show the main character's happy ending and you leave them leaving on a note feeling like everything is going to be okay and work out the way it's supposed to.
Right.
Yeah. It'd be like adding extra scenes at the end of Star Wars. So after they get the medals, then they start evacuating the planet, then they start looking for Hoth, and they set up for Hoth, and then that's like, if they just keep going, it's going to get boring.
I was going to say the end of Rocky, like the end of Rocky 1 is like the first 10 to 20 minutes of Rocky 2,
Well, kind of, but like the thing is, there's a scene after that got cut out. Like, it kind of the whole point is Sylvester Stallone's like, the scene is, the two of them are coming to try and get together between that crowd, right? All this other shit's going on. Rocky don't give a shit. He doesn't care if he's going to win or lose at this point because they're still trying to figure out who won. And all he's trying to do is get to Adrian. And the first thing he does is like, where's your hat? You know, it's like,
Yeah.
you know, it's this perfect little moment. They hug, they slow down, freeze frame. There's another half a scene after that where they find her hat, they walk out the door, and it's just the two of them, and all the chaos is behind them. You don't need all that extra shit to know, oh, no, you just, that crescendo is right there. You just punch it right there. You leave it alone. You know, and then, like you said, you pick up all that other shit in the sequel. Another great example would be like if they took all the shit that's in the beginning of Karate Kid 2 and slapped that on the end of Karate Kid 1.
Well, okay, I'll say that in terms of a theater, I understand why they would want to get out of there.
Yeah, the theatrical edition should have ended right there with the hobbits hopping on the bed.
I would agree. I would agree with that for the theatrical, but I'm talking about in terms of just.
I've got no problem with the other version.
In terms of a movie in general, I think that those extra endings were fine because if it just ended at they're at Rivendell and then that's it. After everything they went through, I kind of feel like that'd be like, okay, so it's just done now, like. All right.
Well, out of those endings, which one do you think is the most important?
Aragorn's?
No.
Frodo's the main character.
Frodo, it's the hobbits all getting together and realizing they're all still alive. Because you got to remember, by this point, there's no cell phones. They have no idea if anybody made it until they all see each other at that point. That's why that scene's a crescendo. Like it's like all the hobbits are at fear, like they don't know if as far as they all know, Frodo's not going to make it, and probably Samwise too. Like they know this going into this journey. Like it's almost like written in stone that those two are basically walking to their death. So that whole scene right there is like that's what script's getting to. Is like the only thing that really matters at that point is that the hobbits are all together and they're alive, because that was the whole journey was getting from point A to B and then getting the back alive. Because you can just deduce that they're going to get back from Rivendell to Hobbiton and everything's just going to pan out. Obviously, Aragorn's going to be crowned king again. You know, I mean, you can have a quick flash of that in between, like basically what I would have done for the theatrical version is just intercut all that other shit in with the other ending, but left out everything after they get back to Hobbiton. Don't have any of that shit. You don't need any of that crap. Just leave it. Everybody either knows it from the books, and those who don't care.
Yeah, you know you have the hobbits like on the eagles flying back, and then you just intercut all the other stuff as they're and back to them flying, and then boom, end it with them returning to Hobbiton. And
like you intercut with like him getting crowned king and all that kind of stuff. And
I don't know about that because it sounds like again, Aragorn is one of the main characters. You would agree as well.
He's a supporting character.
He's technically a supporting character, yes. The fact that he becomes a king again is very ancillary because that's shown in the scene itself, because the scene is more about him telling the hobbits that they bow to no one than it is about him becoming king. Because the whole kind of point of the story is when Gandalf says in the beginning is you don't judge the hobbits by their size, because they've got, as small as they are, they've got the biggest hearts of all living creatures kind of thing.
And appetites.
And appetites. But I mean, like his whole thing is they have the capacity
11
to do this, and no man could do it. Is his point, because they're so good, they're so that no man could resist the urge to turn to the dark side. Even Gandalf doesn't trust himself. Galadriel doesn't trust herself. Like it's all about these hobbits getting through this journey more than anything.
Yeah, I can agree with that, but I don't know if I'd say that it'd be better if they just ended it as you said.
At the theatrical cut, yes. I mean, again, I would love to keep, I want the director's cuts to stay the way they are. Those are like you just start, because since we started on this diatribe 20 minutes ago, I agree with you wholeheartedly. The extended cuts are the definitive versions, and they're the best versions. But in the theater, the way the other films are cut, the way the third film is cut, considering some of the more important shit is cut out, like that final battle between Saruman and Gandalf and stuff like that. Like, if you're going to cut that out, then why have all this extra shit that nobody cares about? And that's what everybody was complaining about.
If there's a question of which scenes do you need to keep for the theatrical, then yes, I agree completely that the endings could have been shortened.
The point is, it could have been a half hour.
My whole point was that in general, like just the movies as they are with the extended editions, that its ending isn't too long. Was my point.
Oh yeah, as the extended editions are fine.
Like just the movie, like the ending wasn't too long for it. Considering how long the movies are, like it's something that's 9 to 11 hours of stuff to just go, okay, we destroyed the ring, it's done. Like I'd be like, well, yeah, we can assume stuff, but does anybody just want to?
My problem is if you're going to have a movie that's more than 2 hours long in theaters, you need to start reintroducing intermissions. I'm old and I gotta pee.
But I would also say that.
And there's kids and they also gotta pee.
Yeah, but I guess without considering the audience for a theater, like that was my whole point. Was just
for home viewing, make it as long as you want.
Just in general, the movie, regardless of where it is being shown, was my point with that.
But see, like from an editor's point of view, from like a script doctor's point of view,
I'd say the Hobbit stuff could have been. Some of that could have been a little shorter because that's where the majority of that whole 20 minutes takes place. But again, the Aragorn being king, that's like 5 minutes.
You could have left that on too, I guess. Okay,
the whole Shire and then the Bilbo goes on the thing. Like they take.
You don't need any of that. You don't need any of that in the theatrical.
I think keeping Frodo though, like when he's writing in the book though, I think that should be important because he's like grabs his wound. It's like it still hurts from that day, and it's like he's gonna leave. Like he needs to leave the freaking Middle Earth. I don't know. I feel like that's kind of important. Like that could have been where it cuts to the Rivendell to them leaving Middle Earth. That'd be like a full 5 minutes extra on after Mordor.
If you recut it and where when he closes the book, that's the end of the movie, maybe. You see, that's the thing. You don't need all that extra shit. You really don't. It's not serving the story. I mean, you think it's important now because you've seen it and it feels important to you because it builds on that character. But
I mean, because it almost goes like with what you're saying with Return of the Jedi. I mean, if they had a version where there was a different type of ending, I mean, I think that the way that it ends is in a way, a kind of perfect ending to this big old story. But could it have been? Would it be worse if it was a little bit longer? Either I don't know. I don't know if it'd be worse.
Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, like
Return of the Jedi ends basically the end of Return of the Jedi is what Script and I were talking about. The end of Return of the Jedi is where the hobbits are hopping around on the bed.
Yeah.
Like it would be like if you continued on Return of the Jedi, it's like, okay, now what do we do? Oh, well, we got to start rebuilding.
Let's go to Coruscant now.
Yeah, let's go back to Coruscant.
Queen.
Yeah, and all this shit. Like, yeah, it's a lot of.
I guess so. Is that how every movie should end, just like that?
No, you want to end quickly because you want to end, basically you want to end the actual plot of the story so that the characters are going to continue on.
But there's also nothing wrong with leaving the audience.
I guess
picking it up in their own mind,
right? I guess depending on the worlds that you're in, because every all these different franchises and series have different worlds and stories with their characters. Is what I'm kind of getting at too here. Sorry, whenever
you've seen Die Hard, right?
I have seen Die Hard, yeah.
Okay, so how does that movie end?
That ends with the PKA, the helicopter. Hans is dead, and they go to a Christmas party. Or
Ollie and John walk out
with his family again.
And they drive away.
Right.
Yeah. That's it.
Right.
That's it. You don't see them go home. You don't see John take a shower. You don't see the next morning with the kids.
But that's one movie, and that's the first.
But I get where Script's coming from. That would be like saying the argument. Well, it doesn't pay off because you don't get to see the kids. You don't get to see the kids embrace their dad and stuff like that. It doesn't fucking matter. It's going to happen.
No, because in that context, those kids aren't important characters in any way, shape, or form. Not even secondary characters. As to where the other people in Lord of the Rings.
Okay, well then it'd be like following Powell the next day, getting a promotion and all this other stuff.
Yeah, and like his wife going into labor or something.
Yeah, like it's stuff that doesn't really mean anything. Even though Powell is just as important to Die Hard as Aragorn is, obviously, to Lord of the Rings, he's not the main character. It's kind of where the problem with the prequels comes in. Is George never picked a main character. He knows it should be Anakin, but it keeps gravitating towards Obi-Wan because in reality it probably should have been Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah, because the prequel story is Obi-Wan's mistake, and Anakin is the victim of that mistake, and that mistake caused the Empire to basically exist.
And Luke is his redemption, yes, on both parts.
Luke is the redemption, yeah.
But again, now we're getting way off topic here.
Okay, yeah. So I like going on tangents like this.
But no, I mean, going off a Star Wars allegory, that's really, The Matrix borrows a lot of that too. the basic hero, you have your old mentor, you have the new up and coming hero, you have the one who believes in him, like the Princess Leia character almost with Trinity. You have all the ancillary characters that kind of build up around them, like the droids, and Agent Smith is like your Darth Vader, the Emperor is like the Matrix itself, like the AI itself. So it's very much like that. So if you think of it in that angle, and you think of the powers that Neo has are like the Force, and he's just kind of learning how to use it. That's very similar in that respect as well.
I guess I'm trying to get to a point within this conversation where, is there any cases, do you think, where they should, I don't know, because I do kind of agree with you guys big time that, like, the Return of the Jedi being the example of, they're not showing everybody do their things as they end. It just kind of ends right there. It shows.
Well, George turned back around and did just that. And ruined the ending as far as I'm concerned.
Without that,
yeah, he added in extra scenes of like Tatooine and Naboo, and
without there being extra scenes, it's just that what it is. It's Luke and everybody's happy, they're good, and then it kind of ends right there. I think that in a way that is probably one of the best types of endings.
It mirrors the original film's ending.
But I'm trying to get at, is there certain circumstances where you can have longer endings that make better or worse? I don't know. Should it always be the shorter route every time?
If you want to go as a filmmaker, yes. It's not even so much the shorter route as you got to end on your crescendo. You got to leave. Stallone knew what he was doing when they got to that point, and he's like, no, the other scene, we don't need it. The height of the emotion is right there. And he tried to recapture that at the end of every single Rocky movie after that. Like at that one point, and he even said that in a specific, he was like, I tried to capture every single one of those films where Rocky's at the height of his emotion, where he's at his peak, so that when everybody leaves that theater, you are leaving on such a fucking high. And that's the way you want your audience to feel. The thing with Lord of the Rings is you're on a high, and you go down this big low.
Well, then you're starting to crash, yeah.
Because you got
which is why.
Three of my main fucking characters are dying.
I heard that the in the books, like the Shire was like overrun by.
The Shire was destroyed almost, pretty much.
But that they didn't want to have that ending for the movies because you already had this gigantic climax, and this is a far.
That's why they jump a couple years too.
It'd be a big character moment, but it wouldn't be like the audience would be like, "Can we go home? This is like a whole other movie." Like with that type of thing. So I guess because I'm trying to learn how to write as well too, and script doctor's been helping me out quite a bit with trying to understand some of the stuff. So
and I think he'll agree with me. You always want to leave. I mean, there's nothing wrong with like writing a lot of different endings, and like maybe one will stick better than the other one. You never know. But there's your ultimate goal is if you're wanting you want to figure out what kind of emotion you want your audience to leave on. Like if you're doing a sad story and you want it to be a sad ending, that's fine. Make it a sad ending. But I really don't think that's what Peter Jackson's ultimate goal was with the Lord of the Rings. And I as the extended cut, I agree with you. They're fine as is, but in the theater, it is a bit of a downer, and it shows because a lot of people after that film, they're like, it's a great film, but it just sucked at the ending because it's just too many endings and it's a downer of an ending at the end.
Well, if you're Ryan Johnson, you want half of the people happy and half of the people pissed.
Right.
Well, the most important aspect of writing is that every line, every choice you put in your script has to be it has to be there for a reason. It has to be pivotal. It has to be the best it can be, because otherwise you're wasting time. Because when you're doing in production, it's, as Robert Meyer Burnett says, it's absolutely true. They know the dollar value down to the second, right? Mm-hmm. So you have to make sure that you're getting, it's the most efficient story. It does the job of entertaining. If there's any sort of thematic messaging that the director or the writer wants to put in there, it has to be a byproduct of the principle of the story. It can't be driving the story. It's got to be something that not so much of an afterthought, but just a happenstance. It's like, oh, we're going to talk about forced relocation, but it's going to be more dramatic. It's going to have more of these things, but forced relocation is going to be like the byproduct of it. People are going to come away really satisfied with that story, but then they're probably going to ask, you know what? It was kind of wrong for like the good guys in Star Trek to try and move that that colony off their planet without their knowledge, right? But like it's all about the wants and the greed and the stuff that's going on. I can't believe I'm pulling in Star Trek Insurrection as a parallel to how you do a thematic thing, but like that's how you can do it. So you want to make sure that you're utilizing, like if you have a scene, you got to know, what does the character that we're focused on the scene want? Why do they want it? What's stopping them from getting it? And if it's involving another character, what are their wants? What's stopping them from getting what they want? How did that conflict with the two people? And you either escalate it with a resolution or a setup to a resolution for the next scene. Yeah. And it has to keep the story moving forward, because otherwise, if you're just having a person who's just sitting around doing nothing, and then another character comes and says, "Hey, I want you to do this," you've now taken the active nature of what a main character is and made them passive and reactive. You want to make sure that they have a choice and a goal, and that it's not coming from only external means. You want to make sure that anything external is reactive to what their goal is.
Mm-hmm. Great example of that is Stand By Me. Have you seen that, Critic?
I actually have. We had
cool. Great example of that is you have
the kids that walk.
You have yes,
body right,
and that's a perfect example of what Script's saying. You have a character who literally comes into the scene and says, "You guys want to go see a dead body?" And that's what starts it off. And you at first have like, wait a minute, like that's the bad way to start a story, like Script was saying. But here's the difference. You have several different characters in there who have several different reasons why they would want to do this. And that's what the story is about, is you set up each and every one of these kids. You see the main character, the Will Wheaton character, he lost his brother. He never mourned for his brother. There's that whole story going on with him. You have each and every little individual story going on with them and how this all brings them together into a story. Now, that's one way of doing it, but I think I explained this to you before, Critic, and this is basically what Script's saying, is making a movie is like making a house. Yeah. Your script is your blueprint, and you really want to look at it like he was saying. Every little bit counts. Every piece you use counts. Now, you're not going to put a lot of extra parts in your house that you're never going to use, right?
Right.
Yeah, let the director do that.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, one of my main things, and Script knows this because I'm still trying to get my head into the right state with this stuff.
It's the thing is you don't want a porch on the second floor. You don't want stairs leading to nowhere. You don't want, you want to have a good idea of exactly how this house is supposed to look from top to bottom.
You don't want the toilet to flush into the sink.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right. Well, I think this is also why it's a good thing that I'm seeing a lot of these classic movies now, because so many examples of movies that I have has so many pointless scenes that I'm used to seeing, and then think that they need to be in the story, kind of. And that's where I'm like struggling to sometimes, see what makes a better type of story, I guess. Or like,
I used to see things like that.
If you write a story, like if you're writing a story, like what's written on the page, most of that is a story, sure, but what are you showing the audience and what are they seeing? That's a different thing, because you want them to be entertained the whole time. You don't want it to be boring, just showing. That's why you don't show anybody just simply go to the bathroom, unless somehow that has significance on what's going on. Right?
Great example.
That's what I'm trying to get a hold on. So that's why when I'm trying to defend like the endings, the Return of the King, I mean, that's what I was kind of thinking, was that it was in a way necessary, at least from
a director's point of view, you will see that.
But I see your guys' point too.
From a director's point of view, you're going to want, like Ricky said, or like Script said, Ricky, you're going to want to like get every little bit and piece you can, even though you're never going to use it. I may buy 10 doohickeys, but I may not use any of them. That's the editor's decision to make. And if you're the director and the editor, well, that's your shit to worry about later. Right now, you just worry about having it in case you need it. But once you get to building that house, like we were saying, you don't want stairs that lead nowhere. Maybe you don't need 2 bathrooms. You already got a bathroom. Okay, well, I mean, we don't need this other bathroom. It's the same. It's a very similar kind of thought process. You get through it, and it's really tough. And that's where you start showing it to friends and test audiences. And, you may think you need something to convey something, but like one of your friends or somebody in the audience will go, no, dude, that's pretty fucking obvious. You don't need all this extra ancillary shit to tell that. Or it may be the opposite. It may be like, well, why are they doing it? Like a lot of the questions you have with the Matrix. Maybe it would have been better if they left certain things in there or added a thing here or two to where it helped somebody like you understand that. That speaks to the possibility that it wasn't edited well. Again, like I'm not trying to say you're dumb and we get it and you don't. But we were just we were able to accept it easier at that time, because we were just going in to watch a movie to be entertained. You were probably watching it from a critical point of view. So of course you're going to see a lot more of the flaws in the story, and you're studying story. So I'm glad you're seeing a lot more of the flaws and certain things I may not even question.
Well, it's also that I just saw it like 2 hours ago. Like,
yeah, that helped.
So I'm thinking about it as we were talking. So the questions were coming to my head. So I was like, wait a second, was that what's going on? So that's why I was bringing those up.
The main thing with The Matrix is, in any movie like this, is the rules. The rules are most important. You have to set up your rules first and foremost, and that's why The Matrix works.
They established the rules really well. I'd say that those are fine. My questions were more to, how real is their real world was mostly my questions, but. It sounded like,
their real world's real to them once they get out of there. Like that's the thing. Like, maybe it's because they don't show as much of the quote unquote real world in the first Matrix that, we just
they can understand what's going on. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm trying to see. It's hard for me to put myself in the place I was when I only saw the first Matrix.
Well, it's hard for me to believe that like the machines wouldn't have some type of bioscan to find humans that aren't in their machines or something. A little like things like that start to come to my head now, but I assume at the time that wasn't too much.
Well, they kind of do, don't they? Script, because that's kind of why they live so deep underground, isn't it?
Yeah, like humanity lives underground. They're protected by some giant like shell near the in the surface that the machines can't really get at for some reason. Like they don't know how it's all there. They think humanity built it like as a refuge type of thing, but the only reason they go up towards the surface is to free other humans from the Matrix. And the machine's entire purpose is to prevent those guys from doing such a thing.
And yeah, like I'm trying to remember if they show much of it in the first movie, but that's what the Sentinels are doing, is they're out trying to find Zion.
They show the jellyfish thing.
Yes,
around, and then they hide from it like once, and then
like they don't know how to get to Zion. Like there's so many underground sewers and tunnels and stuff. It's incredibly difficult to map. However, there's also the suggestion that the machine knows where Zion is. They just aren't interested in actually taking them out right now for some reason.
Yeah, they kind of suggest that, I think, in the second or third film. Like the Matrix even created Zion or whatever.
This is what I was going to lead to before I went on the ending tangent with Lord of the Rings. Was you guys said that they're clones, right? They're not original specimens anymore. They are clones of clones essentially.
They never really cover that. I don't.
They don't really cover that. I think that's what was the rumors for Matrix 4 was assuming that I guess Neo and them are clones. But what it basically was is like I said earlier, like you fall in love with the Matrix and you have a child in the Matrix. The Matrix takes your genetic samples from your pods, they mix them together, they incubate a child, and then that new child is uploaded into the Matrix, and then you're raising the kid, and then they're connected. Like your parents are the same people as you are in there, and if all three of you get released at the same time, you're going to know who each other is. That's just kind of how it is. And what they do is when you die, they recycle your bodies into nutrients to feed the children at the same time of harvesting whatever other organic material is needed to keep them alive, so that they can be batteries for.
Okay, that's a little different than how they.
And hey, Mary.
I guess maybe that's how they put it, but I didn't really understand that's what they meant, because I thought it was like every time you copy a copy, it becomes less original.
Well, apparently Morpheus met the first one when he was a child.
See, I thought he heard stories of the first one. I didn't know that he met him.
It's really hard. They're very vague about it.
Because that is what was confusing.
Okay, I probably confused you a little bit with the clone things, but yeah,
it's like because he says the Oracle said that he'll find the one, and that it was this dude from. It's like I was getting confused on the timeline of their existence of this little group, but then I guess I was with the clones, I was thinking if like the Matrix had this program where they want the humans to break out every now and then. I thought it was sort of for the purpose of them to naturally breed outside of the Matrix and create more like physical, real humans that aren't their cloned farming ones. That would have made that kind of makes more sense to me if they programmed this whole one thing and have people can break out and become a thing, like try to live outside for a while, like expand more natural humanity, I suppose.
They do that, but I don't think the Matrix wants them to per se, because that's the thing is any kid born outside the Matrix doesn't have that thing in their head.
Yeah, they can't join the Matrix unless through a very torturous.
Like that one kid that dies, like that one younger guy that dies in the first one. He's a natural born citizen, or whatever you want to call it, to where he
Yeah,
doesn't
or is
have the
it
thing in
Tank
his
and
head.
the other
Tank
guy?
and his
wait,
brother,
wait.
yeah.
So that's why Tank and the other guy don't go in at all because they're
Exactly.
Oh, okay. I thought
They're pure human. Yeah.
I thought they're just stating that they weren't born in it, but I assumed that they could go in it.
Nope,
if
they can't.
Oh,
That's why they don't go in. They're just pilots and whatever. Yeah.
Okay, that clears a little bit up for me. I have a little less of an
So
issue.
like, there's
Yeah.
a whole city of people like underneath. Like there's like that's what I was saying because I don't think they show Zion in the first movie where like
They don't. No.
you don't really get this idea of how many people there really are. And because like after this first movie, I was under the impression that there's very few people. Like this was all there really was like just this and maybe a small group of people.
Yeah, I would
then
assume less than a few hundred, if anything.
Yeah, even less than that, I was assuming. But then you see the second film, and it's like a whole city of people.
Yeah, but thousands.
Oh shit! What?
Yes.
How do they eat?
They
thought
farm.
They eat
They
that
make
gruel
stuff.
shit.
I
Yeah.
thought they ate some goo, sure, but
Well, and that's why what's his face wants to get back into the Matrix.
yeah, because he liked the
He liked the illusion.
Ignorance is bliss. It tastes
Exactly.
They're telling him it tastes good, but he liked that feeling anyway. So
Right, and then we
And-
get to some deal where, like in the second or third film, they talk about how the Matrix resets itself and everything
Yeah.
anyway.
The second one, the Matrix resets because what they learned is that if you make either a paradise, people will kill themselves. But if you make it like real as possible, they'll accept the program. But there's always that few that won't. So they just, instead of risking them crashing the system, they let them leave. And the one is the one who allows them to transition out of the Matrix into the real world, into the harsher environment, and try to rebuild.
okay, that makes a lot of
He's the
sense.
key to heaven.
That
Yeah.
makes
Zion's another word for heaven.
that makes more sense to put it that way because, like I was saying to Tom and Sherlock earlier, in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I saw Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. first, then all this. And then season 4, they have a thing where there's like surrogates and they have like a virtual world thing. And Agent May is essentially the Black Widow of the series. And she's a huge fighter. And they kept on trying to put her in this like peaceful, fake world, essentially. And she would always like go, something that's up, and eventually end up trying to break out. So then they have to make extreme conditions for her to like have to fight all the time and to like have this desire to keep on doing something, have goals and troubles, and that kind of keeps her in there after that for a while.
Well, you know, though, I kind of see now script. Consider we grew up with this movie, so I can kind of see where Rookie's come. This probably does come off as a movie that was written by some early 20-year-old pretentious fucking. It really probably does.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the system, man. You got to get off the government. I mean, that's an angle I assume people thought of it as for a while, the hippies. But
no, actually, like it was kind of divisive. Some people thought we're doing like actual philosophical things, like what if we really are in a program? And then some kind of got crazy and decided to dress up like Neo and be all gun-toting badass.
Wait! In real life, they
oh yes,
yeah.
Oh yes,
oh god, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that's funny.
There was a time when the Matrix Reloaded came out, right before, because Reloaded was before Revolution, right?
Yeah.
So Reloaded came out, and they were selling the Neo jacket at like high quality and boutique shops and stuff. Like you could dress like Keanu Reeves in that movie before it even debuted. And all I would see around town, just coming out of college, is like these poser kids dressed like Neo everywhere you went, and you're just like,
wouldn't they think, oh, we're going against the system, but did they not realize that the system put the movie in place perhaps to get them thinking about the system? And
well, they sacrificed their individuality to conform to something that they loved,
Yeah.
and completely forgetting that the theme of the movie was about the value of individuality.
Yeah, that sounds
Isn't
crazy.
that how it always works?
Oh my
Usually
God.
is, yeah.
That's funny. That's
It's
You know
just
crazy
it's just
is
showing
I
the failure of our education system in the latter half of the 20th century.
No, I really want to watch. I didn't get a chance to rewatch this before this. I have not seen the movies in probably at least 10 years or more. So full
Mine would
disclosure.
be 2004 would be the last time I saw these movies.
I've literally probably watched. I think I've only watched the third film once. I've watched the second film maybe 3 times, and I've seen the first film a bunch of times. But I don't know. I'm trying to remember the last time I watched it. I mean, I'm sure I watched it 100 times on DVD because it was one of the earlier DVDs everybody had.
Yeah. Except for me, of course.
Well, no, but I mean, it came out right at that time when DVD was taking off.
Yeah.
And it was one of the first ones. It had such a fancy fucking menu that it kept crashing some people's older DVD players.
Yeah.
Really?
I'm not kidding. You had to like hook it up and find a way to get like this fucking update because this was before Wi-Fi and all this shit, and it was a mess. Like people's
some
players
of the
were
DVDs
crashing.
you had to download a thing from the DVD itself so you could play the DVD. I remember that part.
It was a big mess.
Well, I guess what I'll say, seeing it now for the first time, like it is a good conversation piece. I've gotten a lot of content, substance out of The Matrix.
And I bought the Blu-ray trilogy, but I think I watched the first film and part of the Animatrix, and that was it. So that's probably the last time I bought them. Or watched them is when I bought them.
Right, makes sense. But it's I don't know what I'd rate it right now, or like what I would think about it, but it's not one of my favorites, of course. But it's
honestly, I'm kind of surprised. I thought you were going to like it a lot more.
I do like it though. It's like I'd put it at least a 7. Like that's. But
like, I wonder
good.
if I'm right about the whole. It's way pretentious shit now, and I should be. I wonder if we should be proud of him script for seeing through it.
No. Well, yeah. If he's able to pick out some of the issues of it, I mean, it's when I first saw the film, I'm like, okay, yeah, this is how I do Tron and Terminator. I was not a huge fan of it. I thought it was all pretty cool and neat. All the kids that were around my age that were talking about it weren't even talking about the stuff that I like about movies, which is like, character growth and development. They're talking about like all the gung fu and, the stunts and the flipping around stuff. So all the superficial things that
he punched.
I know it had one of the most disappointing video games of all time.
Oh yeah, it was like an in-between game too. Like it's like, so the Animatrix has like a short film that sets up the sequel. Then it has a video game that sets up the sequel. And then when
the video game is horrid.
You they briefly gloss over what's going on in a very quick little speech. That Lawrence Fishburne does his best to really make captivating, and it doesn't quite work because the words are not well picked.
Because he probably didn't understand it himself.
Well, we saw that Keanu Reeves, the poor guy, didn't even understand what the heck he was talking about when he was trying to promote the movie that one day. If you can go back to the archives, there's a thing where he's talking about reality with regards to the Matrix, and Lawrence Fishburne's looking over at him like, did you just have a stroke? Because whatever you're saying is gibberish.
Keanu was probably on some really good drugs then, though.
He's a straight edge guy, as far as I know.
Now, but I don't know about then. I mean, he may have always been, but I think don't know about just back in the day.
I think that he was not told what exactly they were shooting and how it works, and maybe they had so many different takes and so many different sides that he did that day. He had no idea what the heck movie he was making.
Right.
Well, at the same time, like making that movie, I can imagine that just the way it was made, and there was. I like how script compared it to Star Wars because there's a lot of parallels in it. In that, I'm sure at the time also just being in it, like you had no clue what the fuck you were making. It probably felt the same way when people were making Star Wars in a lot of ways. Because I mean, the movie took everybody by surprise. I mean, they never expected it to be nearly as big as it was either.
Yeah, like they spent majority of their budget just making that 3D room so they could do photo capture of their camera techniques. Like, and it was a really like a rudimentary thing. Like a whole bunch of cameras just positioned around one point, and they got green screen walls in front of everything but the lens. And then they just throw the actor in the middle there and be like, okay, do not move for like 12 seconds because we got to film this properly.
I wonder if there's a special features around somewhere of The Matrix. That'd be kind of cool to see there behind the scenes.
There's lots of.
Oh, there's lots and lots.
I'm sure YouTube's got all of it.
All right, because that would be awesome. Yeah, I'm trying to look into some special features now too to get a better idea on how some of these films are made. Because yeah, I'm like especially Lord of the Rings. Like I just I'm about to watch those again, and the only things I remember from when I was a kid watching them was how they got all the sound for the stadium or for the armies. I guess they like went to a stadium and had them chant and march and make all those noises. And then for the arrows, they went to a whole bunch of different locations and fired to get different sounds for the wind noises of the arrows. and like going into the forest to different puddles and like having a plunger to make sounds for the watcher. Like that's some awesome links to get their stuff going. But as far as the Matrix goes, I don't know if there's too much more that I have to say about it. It's I feel like we talked about it quite a bit. We talked about some earlier stuff earlier on with Shellback and me, and toward the end, he started getting into superpowers. I don't really know what else there is to cover with this. I pretty much asked any questions that I had about it. How'd you like it, Script Doctor, I suppose?
That was an okay movie. I mean, it definitely made its money. It started a huge fan base that, and also destroyed its own fan base really quick after that third movie. Like, never seen it. The last time we saw something like that was with Star Wars.
Yeah.
Like, no, really, like people were really upset with that third of the film. Nowhere near as vile as what I can recall from reactions of The Last Jedi, but just like, nope, we're done. That was it. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of interested in the Matrix 4, but it's not something that's gonna excite me.
What would you guys have done differently, like as far as writing? Maybe small changes even to make it.
Shellback was going to say something there before, I think.
Go ahead, Shellback.
Oh, I was just gonna say that I'd like to watch the Matrix again just to see how many times he says "whoa."
He does say it a couple times.
3 or 4 actually.
I would say I think they were very conscious of that in the Matrix.
Yeah.
But he does
That-
Okie
that's
dokie,
the-
which is
that's
a really Canadian thing to say. So
Well, that's like the running joke with Keanu Reeves.
Oh yeah, that was his "I'll be back" or whatever you want to call it.
Is to see how many times he says "whoa."
Like they like as far as I remember, speaking of the making of like Rookie, I cannot recommend enough like older behind the scenes stuff on like DVDs and Blu-rays and stuff that sometimes get carried over. Check out as much as you can.
That's what I wanted. That's what I'm trying to
ignore some of the EPK fluff shit, but really get into some of the good stuff.
Once I see some of these movies, that's what I'm gonna be looking for next is their special features, because there's a lot of interesting stuff in here that I'm curious to see how they made it or what was going on in their heads when they were making it. Because like even just this the few things where the rings. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, didn't the guy who played Aragorn broke his toe kicking the thing and had to do that scene, still run around like with the broken.
Oh yeah.
Like I heard in the Iron Man when they're filming that there was a shot that looked kind of bad, and they were like, "Should we put you all the way back in the gigantic suit in the cave in that set and do another shot, or like do a different edit, or what do we do here?" Like there was a like huge like decision things like that. That are like that's a lot of issues to go on the director's set. That's for sure.
Yeah, and that fake iron suit was still really heavy.
Yeah,
it wasn't made out of real iron. Like it was like PVC foam, plastic, cardboard, some fiberglass. It was like a whole bunch of lighter materials.
Being in it for a long time too probably makes it heavier. I'd imagine just feels heavier. Anyway.
Over time, yeah. Like Michael Keaton, the bat suit he was wearing was between 40 and 60 pounds, depending on which version they threw him in. And he he ended up losing a lot of weight, but building a lot of muscle, moving around in that thing for that production.
It's the Goku training, the weights, weighted clothes. Yep. But that's pretty much all that I gotta say on the Matrix. You guys have any last things you want to say about the Matrix?
Well, your other question was what we would do to change it. I wouldn't do anything to change the first film, really, but I would definitely do stuff to change the second film. Like basically, the second film should have been a buildup of is Neo really the one? And then you kind of leave the second film on this question of is he really not the one? And then the third film, of course, he really is the one, and he brings the machines down and whatever, and more simplified, straightforward, a lot less bullshit. I'm not sure what Script or Shellback would do, but
God, I couldn't even I would just say leave it at the end of the first one. Don't even make a follow up because the first one's fine.
That's where I'd rather be left wanting more, because right now I don't know what else happens in all these things, and I think based on what you guys are saying that the Matrix would technically be a better universe without the other two to explain it for you, but you could be left wondering what else happens and what could happen and all that after the first one. Is what I would think, but All right, Shellback. Any last words?
Yeah. No.
No. All right. Well, thank you everybody for coming around. What movie? So I'm gonna watch The Thing next. After that, what do you guys think that I should take a gander at?
The Other Thing.
Yeah, you're doing The Thing next, right?
Yeah, I'm doing. Snowdub wants me to watch that so that we can do a watch party on his channel.
Oh yeah, watch The Thing. Very, very good movie.
Yep, we're doing that next. But so after that, what else should I watch?
Goodfellas,
Rocky.
Okay, I think Rocky's on Netflix. Watch that, or one of them was.
if you want to go down the Rocky wormhole, yeah.
Yeah, totally watch the first Rocky. Make sure it's the first Rocky.
They're all good though. Even
they are all good, but like start with the first one just so you can actually understand why this franchise made it as the way it is.
How many Rocky films are there?
Counting the Creed films?
8.
8.
How many just Rocky films are there?
6. Rocky Balboa is actually ridiculously good.
They're all really good. The worst of the bunch is probably 5, and 5 gets barely
because they have a fight. They have a street fight. That's why.
I like part 5. I
like part 5 too. I like the memory of Burgess, the flashbacks to Burgess Meredith that are in that is great.
5 was with Tommy Gunn, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
You can tell Shellback's not a fan of that one, probably.
Yep.
Oh no, it was all right, but I mean, yeah, I would probably agree with you that that one was like.
So I guess should I just watch Rocky and then do like a discussion or watch party, or should I watch like the whole Rocky series and then do like get a panel together?
Go one at a time, man. Like that's fine with that.
I would, or I would watch the first one. If you really get into it, then keep going, then have a discussion. But if you just think it's okay and don't really plan on diving into the rest anytime soon, then do it that way. Yeah.
Yeah, and then when you're done that, just go to According to Christie's channel, listen to all of us talk about the movies of the 80s you should watch, and then just do that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I have my list of all these movies, but it's the order of, it's like how do you pick which one to watch next is kind of where I'm at with everything.
You have a dartboard?
I have over 100.
Speaking of 80s movies, and I don't know what you've seen, what you haven't seen, but The Goonies. Have you seen The Goonies?
I have seen The Goonies, yes.
Okay. Let's see.
Lost Boys? Have you seen The Lost Boys?
Yeah.
This should be a drinking game or something, or a guessing game.
Well, you get wasted.
Like, what movie has he seen? What movie has he not seen, right? Or what movie has he seen, I guess? No, I have not seen.
We drink when we get a movie you have seen, and we don't drink, and you drink when it's a movie that you haven't seen.
I don't know.
If you haven't seen,
you drink when it's one that I have seen, because that's less likely that I've seen it.
If you haven't seen The Lost Boys, you need to bump that up on your list.
I've not seen it.
Yeah. Back that was probably, other than the Underworld movies, that was probably the best pre-sparkly bitch vampire movie.
Wait, The Lost Boys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had no idea it was about vampires. Is that what you're saying, or what?
Yeah.
Have you seen Megaforce?
Have I seen what?
Megaforce.
Have you seen Citizen Kane?
No. and no reason I have not seen The Godfather either.
You're lucky you're not in like film school right now, because you'd be so far behind all the other students from what the movies are. But that's okay, man. We'll
be that kid that everybody's like, "What the fuck did you do with your time, man?"
I watched Power Rangers and Yu-Gi-Oh growing up.
And they'll be like, "Why do you want to be a
really
fucking
sad is that
filmmaker?"
those are terrible influences on how to write.
Well, and then it's like, but I saw other things like Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Is that a bad one? Not one of the best ones.
John Hughes has his niche. I personally, I don't find many of his films very relatable, aside from maybe Planes, Trains, Automobiles, and Weird Science to a degree. like the rest of his high school stuff. It's like
They're
I've
very
never met people
formalic
like
in
that.
a lot of ways, though.
Yeah.
I mean, Ferris Bueller is like, I mean, in my opinion, Ferris Bueller is a kind of an instant classic. But if you've seen Ferris Bueller, but you have not seen if you've seen Ferris Bueller, but you haven't seen like 16 Candles or
The Breakfast Club.
or The Breakfast Club, you're fired.
Well, here's the thing.
All the original Planet of the Apes.
That's not bad. That's an all right deal.
Right.
Here's the thing. Like movies 101 is like obviously Star Wars, which you've seen.
Yeah, I've seen Indiana Jones. All of
Yeah. Okay. Well, no, I'm talking like, okay. So besides Star Wars, you got to see Citizen Kane, Wizard of Oz.
I've seen Wizard of Oz.
Okay, that's one down. You should see Gone with the Wind. I don't know if you're gonna like it, but you should just see it. Just to have
at the airport.
Gone with the Wind.
Or I'm sorry, I'm getting one of the old ones mixed up. Then probably there's at the. Okay,
Gone with the Wind's about the one in the South.
Okay.
Yeah.
Civil War.
Now I'm thinking about a different one then. No.
And you should watch It Happened One Night. It's a screwball comedy.
Another good one. It's a Wonderful Life is another one around that time, probably.
Yep.
Hold on, I swear I've seen that. What happened? Is that the Christmas one? The
yeah,
Jingle. I must have seen that before.
Okay, so you should see some Capra, you should see some Hitchcock, and then you should move up to like Kubrick and Scorsese. Like you should these are like levels that film schools these are the things they would have expected you to have already kind of gone through, and then move into like Coppola and all that kind of shit, which would be like The Godfather and all that stuff. But yeah. like you got to kind of level up in a way. Like that would be like a way I would.
That is the purpose of my.
So like you should almost start from like 101, and like you've seen Back to the Future too.
I've seen the Back to the Future trilogy. Yeah.
Okay, so those are already out of the way. Like you definitely got to see like Citizen Kane, and a couple of the other ones we just mentioned.
And like me being a military vet, I would have to. You got to watch. You got to watch movies like Full Metal Jacket.
Well, that'd be Kubrick.
Some classic John Wayne films. Get some classic John Wayne film in there. Do the Fistful of Dollars trilogy.
I've seen The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Is that one of those?
Yes, you need to see a Fistful of Dollars and for a few dollars more.
Yeah,
spaghetti
They're a little shorter.
The Outlaw Josie Wales.
See, but that's like we're getting ahead of him here, though.
Right.
You definitely got to start on level 1, which would be earlier. King Kong is another one. Have you seen the original King Kong?
Okay, how many King Kongs? There's like a million of those.
The original
1938 one.
Yeah.
Is that the stop?
Black and white.
Black and white. They use stop motion for the gorilla.
Is there more than one black and white one though?
No.
Oh, then I probably haven't seen it. No.
As far as King Kong goes, you have to see the original Fay Ray one, and then you have to watch the
Linda Hamilton one.
No.
That's the sequel to the '76 one, man.
Yeah,
it's probably the '76 one I'm thinking of. What was that?
Yeah, that
name?
would be what's her face? It's got Jeff Bridges and.
I know her name as well as my own, but I can't think of it.
I know. I'm trying to think of it.
I've seen ones that have lots of apes in them, so they could have been King Kong ones. They could have been other ones. I've seen
King Kong.
I've seen
you damn dirty ape.
Yeah, Planet of the Apes also do that one.
I've seen all the Planet of the Apes, every single one except for the TV.
Faye Dunaway? Am I thinking? Is it Faye Dunaway?
No.
No. Shit. What's her
She's
name?
in Tootsie and shit. Jessica Lange.
Jessica Lange. There we go. Yeah, that one.
The main thing is like the original King Kong is probably the most important because between King Kong, Citizen Kane, Wizard of Oz, and these are the earliest films, and Gone with the Wind are like the earliest films that had like the most influence on the way films were made for the next 100 years. Like you watch Citizen Kane, it's edited like a film that was made in like the 70s or 80s.
Yeah.
Same thing with King Kong. Like it's very You want to talk about everything you need to know about getting what you need in a movie. Like King Kong's the prime example.
Well,
It's arguably one of the greatest original films ever made.
I have a question, actually, kind of about film critique in that sense of a very old film, like going to King Kong a year or sooner even, compared to how we critique movies now. Is there a difference in how we critique some of those? Like, I don't know, just like looking at them, I'm just trying to.
Obviously, you would critique it in from the lens and point of view that this is almost 100 goddamn years ago.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that goes without saying, but I mean in general, I don't know, because the way that some people will look at older films, they'll just go, "Oh, it's just some dumb thing," but back then it was obviously a bigger.
What I want you to see, and what probably Script would want you to see out of these films that we just mentioned, especially the older ones, would be the building blocks of how we got to today. And how these films influenced every single film afterwards. Like, I mean, I'm not even kidding when I say every single film afterwards. Like, of those 5 films we just mentioned, like, each and every one of those movies have influenced every film in some way.
Soul Assassin brought up a good one. Nosferatu.
Oh, yeah, then you're getting into, like, Nosferatu, The Seven Samurai, the Universal horror films. Those would probably be, like, level 2.
Get everything he made.
Yeah, those are definitely like level 2 stuff. And I do Kurosawa like alongside the spaghetti westerns and stuff like that.
I've seen
Dirty Harry's. Watch the Dirty Harry's.
Dirty Harry. Yeah, I've seen Shawshank. I've seen let's see, Monty Python. I don't know if that counts as
yeah, that's a good start.
It's not bad. It's a good start.
So I saw the newer Time Machine. I don't know if the older one's considered better or not, but
yes, the older one's better. The newer one is weird.
Of course, I've seen Saving Private Ryan. I mean, that's I've seen that one. That's good, right? That's not
all right.
Not on the bad list.
I mean, you should really start with the simple. I mean, you've seen a lot of great 80s films. You've seen a few of the 70s films and stuff like. I know you saw Jaws, and stuff like that. But you really should start with like some of the original classics and kind of move up the ladder. Because then I think you'll really enjoy it once you start getting to things like Hitchcock and Kubrick and stuff, and you'll really start to relish and see.
Yeah, like you might actually really appreciate Frenzy, and it's not even one of Hitchcock's better films, but it does some things there that you would see in current horror and suspense and thriller films.
Something that I think that would kind of play well into what you're trying to do with your own personal projects is the freaking oh god, now I'm drawing a blank. Like the movies like Army of Darkness and
Evil Dead.
That series, yeah.
I have seen Army of Darkness and Evil Dead 2. I didn't see the very first one that they made, though. I think Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness.
You probably should see the first one from a filmmaker's point of view because that's like a student film, basically.
Yeah.
But it shows the potential of what you can do with nothing.
Yeah, I think I have the DVD. I think that was in a pack that I got. So yeah, I'll check that one out. I think I would have watched them in order, but I think I watched Evil Dead 2 first because
that's all right. Because Evil Dead 2
common.
Evil Dead 2 recaps Evil Dead 1 pretty good. The only thing to see Evil Dead for is just to be like, oh, okay. Because they filmed it on like 8mm, wasn't it? Or 16?
Right.
Yeah, they filmed it on Super 8.
Well, I mean, that's why I should see it, though, right? Because they did whatever they could with what little they had, right? So,
and they filmed it over like a couple years on the weekends and shit. And I mean, of course, there's tons of glaring errors.
Right.
But it's just to kind of see, like, you can kind of retroactively tear the film apart as a filmmaker and kind of see what they did as just like clever and how they put it together. And yeah, for what they did with what they had, it's amazing. Same thing with Clerks once you get to that level.
Yeah.
I have a feeling there's over like 200 movies that I need.
There's thousands, dude.
Mean, like
that's why I'm trying to start you on a you got to kind of start out like on a low level, like with the older films, and then kind of build yourself up.
Yeah, I can think of about 950 films that you would need to see.
Jesus Christ, I can imagine. I can imagine.
You know how I got through a lot of what you're doing right now, though, Rookie? I read from cover to cover. I read Leonard Maltin's 1990, I don't know, probably 4, 5, or 6 video book. Like, I read everything. I read it from cover to cover, and I marked every movie I saw. I marked every movie I wanted to see. And as I saw them, I put, what my score was next to them. But that was how I got through my years of working in video and shit, and not seeing all these movies, but knowing everything about them. Like, I've forgotten more about movies than I can retain right now. Like, he used to be able to tell me like certain things, and I could tell you what movie it was because I would pick up on something. And because I used to tell you how long
that
they
much
were
in the conversation every day too.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I think also part of that is going back in time. This kind of thing I want to discuss at some point. It's like the way that films were made back then, not just in the filmmaking, but in the production of how many films were made per year. Like, how many you think were made, like, in the 70s even? Like, how many films were released in that year compared to now?
It used to be a lot less.
Funny, but like in 2019, they like release what, like 100 or more movies in a year or something.
At least, yeah. Well, it used to be
like 30.
Well, I don't know. Back in the 70s, they had all those freaking grindhouse freaking.
Well, that was just it. Yeah, you had a lot of B-level movies and drive-in movies and stuff. But as far as your major studio releases, you had like a roughly, I think it was 10 a year from a studio back in the day. And then like in the 80s, it doubled and then quadrupled by the 90s to the point where like the studio's releasing like 2 or 3 movies a month. And then you had like conglomerate studios by that point as well. So they were all releasing,
and they're all making movies for the following year, like, which they do now, but like they're all making them for the following year. Now they're making them like 5 years ahead of time, pretty much.
Right.
Well, yeah, because the ability to make a movie has changed. Well, I mean, it used
thanks
to
to
be
George Lucas, he changed the industry.
Well, I was going to say script. It still used to take you about 3 years to at least to get a movie off the ground.
Oh yeah, like the thing is, like a studio will say, "Oh, we want to do this thing, and we're going to give us a 5-year window to get it done and out," and that's basically you get your your director, your actor, you put out a call for writers to do the assignment stuff, and yeah, they just try to they really. Basically, it's like a committee organization, and then they leave the creative process open. And then once everything gets like locked in, that's when the committee comes in and does their marketing assessment. And then, yeah, it's a big machine. But like that's just the nature of the game. And then in other times, it's like a director will have a passion project, and then they'll pitch that around and try and raise money for it and whatnot. That can take like a couple of years, and then the actual production itself will be maybe like 6 months of pre-production, a few months of actual filming, and then a year and a half of post and reshoots and whatever.
And then like when audiences would be able to watch them, it would only be every now and then, right? Like they'd only show something like once a year or once in
a while. Before video you had to wait for something to get re-released.
So it's like, I assume that affected the movie making and movie watching experience also, with that in mind. Do you think?
To a point. See, the summer season didn't start until Jaws. Like there was like the big time of year for movies used to be Christmas before that.
Yep.
Because people figure, they're indoors, plus it was that time of year, close enough to Oscars, it would get all the attention of the bigger movies, and so they would usually dump all the bigger. Oh yeah, they've had Oscars for hundreds of years now, almost 100 years now, over 100 years now. It was more like, okay, like they would re-release movies, like King Kong's a great example. It would get re-released every few years, and they didn't have video, and television didn't carry a lot of films until much later too, like because they were kind of like at odds with each other for the longest time.
Yeah, television had their own like movie specials that they would do that were exclusive.
Yeah.
Like the Monday night at the movies kind of thing didn't start until probably the 70s.
Yeah, your Monday movie of the week special, and then in Canada we had TVO's Saturday Night at the Movies, which started in the 70s as well, and that was basically
to the point where
Well,
I was just gonna say, by the time you got to the 80s, like literally almost every night of the week you had a major Hollywood movie showing on some network.
Yeah, at some point.
And a lot of times that's how a lot of people saw movies after that. So then when you went past like the re-releasing in theaters, it used to be, we had to wait to see it on TV. And then of course video came along.
Right.
And that changed everything.
I was just kind of assuming that like filmmakers might make their films differently, considering that like it being first like, oh, it's going to be released in this theater, and then maybe you'll be on TV every now and then
Oh man, no. Filmmakers were never thinking like that.
No, they didn't start thinking like that till the 70s.
Well, I guess to rephrase filmmaker, I guess I meant studio or the people.
Like they knew like if you had a hit like Citizen Kane, King Kong, Gone with the Wind, things like that, they would always get re-releases or revivals every few years. Disney kind of started a lot of that too, and the main reason Disney started doing that is because they didn't make enough money off of Snow White the first time it was in release. It actually it did well, but it didn't make enough to cover the budget. So they re-released it and kept re-releasing it until they finally made their money back. But then they realized, oh, people would keep going back to see these movies. I mean, it was a normal thing that they would do it every once in a while, but like it became more and more of a thing where you do the revival, you know, weekends and shit at theaters and stuff, and you'd have like matinees of like entire like a bunch of the monster movies, and you know, like they had a big deal, like they would release like you know, with a lot of the serials and stuff, they would re-release them all with, you know, the kids could go to the theater on Saturday for 50 cents and see a shit ton of Batman and Buck Rogers and all this kind of stuff, and it was kind of the original Saturday morning cartoons in a lot of ways, probably.
Yeah, pretty much. Like I wish we kind of
the parents would just dump their kid off at the theater and go home and fuck their wives, basically.
Dude, and that's another thing too. It's like not only are that like there's all these movies to watch, but like all of the like mini series and TV shows, you know, that you would be good to watch is freaking yeah, there's a hell of a list there too.
Oh yeah, yeah. And well, nowadays TV production is on par with film. That's the big difference compared to back then too. Like, I mean, movies were always seen as like a special thing, you know. And then like when television started coming in, like that's when they started doing widescreen and stereophonic sound and 3D and all these other gimmicks to kind of get people out of their houses and back into the theaters. So like what we're facing now is actually not the first time theaters have faced going out of existence. I mean, they were scared when video first came out too.
So imagine they've always been on a constant state of, are we going to collapse tomorrow?
Kind of. Like, that's where a lot of people are like, this is it. And I'm like, I wouldn't count them out yet. The theaters are like Rocky.
They might be blown down a bit, but they'll be fine. They'll still be some.
You get up and you just keep going and you keep pushing. Because that's what living's about.
I have seen.
That's right, Rock.
I must have seen some of Rocky 4. Is that the one?
You can do it, Rock.
Yeah. The one where he fights the Russian.
Get up, you son of a bitch.
I've at least seen the training parts where or like where he's like he dies, and then like later when they training and one's doing
that's part
in
4.
the nature and the other one's like on a treadmill. Like
and part 4 is like the most cheesiest 80s of the bunch. Like it's great film. Fucking
Russia versus America. But with that
movie single-handedly ended the Cold War.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And we can just work some things out. We can get along. Everybody get along. We can do this.
Actually, if memory serves, and it might be spotty, I think the reason the Cold War and the Berlin Wall fell is because one politician on that side said, "Yeah, we're going to take it down," and everybody just kind of panicked.
And it came down.
So I guess I have one last question before we head out. And I love this conversation, guys. I love this. This is why I want to do film talk streams. And like after every watch party, Tom, I think we always get into some type of conversation like this. Not exactly this, but every time we do a watch party, we end up going down.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the Matrix would be one you could really talk a lot on, but it's.
But I guess so. We're talking about all these movies that I should see. You know, being interested in film. Well, it's like that was one of the things that kind of, you know, when I was first starting to get into film a couple of years ago. It's like everybody's like, oh, you need to see these films and these films and these films to be like a filmmaker, and it's like. I mean, is that really a requirement to see most of these films, or is there a, like?
Oh no, it's not a requirement.
Or is there a more accepted list? I guess that I mean, I don't know, when people say like they just make their list of you got to see these movies if you're super into film, you got to see these movies. And it's
like the base list that we just gave you is kind of just the list, like Script was saying. If you were to walk into a film school tomorrow, they would pretty much have expected you to see these films.
Yeah. Well, it's like you got movies like, say, The Godfather, right?
Right.
And you have a group of people that say, dude, you have to see The Godfather. If you haven't seen The Godfather, you're stupid. And then there's other people that are like, meh, when they watch The Godfather and they're like, meh, it's like, so.
Yeah. But see, a lot of people. Oh, go ahead, Script.
I'll say this: it's not just also about like the taste of what the majority has. It's also about the standards of what was achieved. Because if you're coming in as a filmmaker or an actor, or whatever, you've got to be better than what came before. And in order for you to know how to do that, you have to know what came before.
That's kind of what I'm suggesting too, and that's where I'll even say you may not like these movies, but it's important that you see them.
That's
for their
what I wanted
achievements, for their and really kind of watch them in the context of their time, especially.
Okay, that's better for an answer what I wanted, because everybody's just like, oh, you just got to see these, and I'm just like, well, all right, but like, what's
like Script was saying, it's more about seeing the technical advancements. It's more about seeing like, this is what, this was the first time this director did this and why, and that's especially like important when you get to like Hitchcock and Kubrick.
Or like to see the stepping stones of film.
Yes,
to see the stepping stones, what you can do with the camera, what it conveys, how it elicits emotion out of the audience. Like, these are the things that you have to know about going in. You can't, I mean, sadly, as it's really unfortunate, but the majority of people who want to get into film can't just rely on just knowing the movie, like after seeing it a couple of times. They got to break it down, study it, understand it, basically pull the magic curtain away so you can see all the inner workings of how it works. So that you can understand how it works and also find new ways to achieve those things that's more unique to yourself, and maybe figure out how to invent something new that would be your signature to set you apart from all the others, so that you can, win a job and get work and all that.
And there are little film classes sometimes that you can get take advantage of that are almost free.
Yes.
A great example is the special features, like we're talking about. Besides watching, like, obviously the making ofs and certain things like that, the director's commentaries are great things to dive into, or especially on Citizen Kane. I highly suggest, after you watch the film, watching the commentary on the DVD and Blu-ray that Roger Ebert does, because he basically recreates his class that he did, breaking down shot for, well, it's not exactly, but he gets into a lot of it. I wonder if I could find it out there, but what he used to do for a class for film school is break down Citizen Kane shot for shot. Like, he'd go through every single shot in the film with the classroom and talk about each individual shot and why Orson Welles did what he did. And you can do that for a lot of films, and some schools still do these kind of things. That's kind of what EFAP is in a lot of way too.
Yeah. A little bit. Also, there's another guy named, I think, Roger Ager or Rob Ager. He's a Scottish film director. He's all about like the hidden meanings and messages. He gets a little too heady at times, but he's a great introduction to understanding the concept of cinematography and how it works. And he's got a lot of free stuff on YouTube. I wouldn't recommend investing any money in some of the stuff that he offers to sell. Just use the free stuff, because that'll get your feet wet, and then you can do your own searches on your own to get more of the information and really understand the concept of like how you put a film together once you get the script figured out.
Right, and I'm sure I brought it up before. Back to the Future is a great example of a perfect way to set up everything, set up your rules, set up your characters. Every scene pays off. There's no fat in that film. In fact, if anything, there's one of your movies that a director's cut might help it a little bit, because there's like 2 or 3 scenes that would fill in some of the supposed
I thought there was
holes.
I thought there was one area that I got, but I think Script pointed out that the fading effect it's a delay or something, and that's why the effects aren't immediate. And I was like, God damn it, you got me. Like when
and it's also because it's like
goes back in the past and then goes back to the future to return the DeLorean to them. I was like, wouldn't he go back to his own future?
Oh yeah, that's in the second film. There's the morph scenes in the second film that should have been in the movie, and that's one of them. But yeah, like there's a couple bits in the first film that people are like, oh, that's a plot hole. Well, actually, it's not. It's stuff that's filled by like 2 or 3 deleted scenes.
Wait, I don't know. I might have the director's version, and I never knew it. What was the scene that they?
Oh, they don't add them back in. They're just in the deleted scenes, but you see them, and you're like, shit, that should have been in the movie.
Or like what scenes?
Yeah. One of them is where people are like, how they say that it's an anachronism that Doc has like a hair dryer and a few other things. But there's a deleted scene where he pulls out Marty, or it'd be his suitcase.
His future suitcase, yeah.
His future suitcase, and he's going through it, and he sees like the hair dryer and a bunch of other things, and there's
the video and the camcorder actually.
And the camcorder's in that scene, yeah.
There's also another part there. There's a scene, I don't know if it's actually on any of the Blu-ray or DVD, but when Marty comes back into his home for the first time after the adventure, there's a manila envelope on the counter, and it's his tape that he was about to mail out to the record company or to the radio station.
Yeah, I noticed that because they brought that up, and that's like a little bit. Like, there's tons of little things, but like that's
like
an example
the fact that
where
Twin Pines Mall becomes Lone Pine Mall. Like they do a lot of little subtle things to show a change.
But everything in that movie is a setup and a payoff for the story itself. Like the other stuff we're talking about is little ancillary things. I mean, otherwise though, from beginning to end, there's zero fat in Back to the Future. It manages in under 2 hours to get in everything you can. And like I said, they could even add it in those 2 or 3 deleted scenes, and it still could have rolled just fine.
Yep.
All right. Yeah, I think so too. I haven't seen them in a while, so I might have to give them another watch and see.
The sequels, there's
sequels are a little iffy, but
dicey. Yeah,
it's still a really, really good.
I remember enjoying the sequels.
They're great films. But the problem is with the sequels, without going way off the deep end here, the biggest issue is that they have to create an arc for Marty, because Marty never had an arc. In the first film, Marty's arc was he's teaching his father how to be a man. Right,
but I mean, in a way, being a man was kind of what happens with him, throughout it, like reacting to being called a chicken all the time. So
so that was an added thing.
That's what they got lost. So the story was supposed to be Marty teaches his dad how to be a man, and at the same time builds confidence in himself and what he has to do to be a man as well. Because his entire story before he goes back in time is that he's a musician. He wants to play at the prom, and he's told he sucks, or he's told that he's not good, and he doesn't have any confidence.
Too darn loud.
Yeah, what was it that he was good, but they
Huey Lewis tells me he's too loud, which is hysterical.
I remember that. So you're too darn loud.
But the thing is, they kind of, that's like supposed to be the undertone of what's going on, and I think that's why I really wish they kind of put in that scene or like that little thing where he picks up the envelope, looks at it's addressed there, and it's his tape, and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna freaking do this. And then he can interrupt with Doc Brown, with Jennifer, like, we gotta save your kids. And
okay,
yeah, they should have added, like, it should have been. I think that was the problem that the quandary they found themselves in the sequel was like, for him just to being a rock star is not enough to go on, so they had to add something to his character. That flaw.
They could have probably made it a little different, but I kind of liked it, I guess, how it was.
But script, that actually does go along with your theory. He was too chicken to send in that tape probably originally.
Yeah, exactly.
So it is
they should have had that followed through towards the end, where that tape is in like the glove compartment of the new car that his dad got him, and he's like, you know what, I should probably drop this in the mailbox as we go to the lake.
Yeah, they should have done that. It would have helped.
Like, I kind of liked how every time he has like a challenge, most of the time, in a way, he kind of has to run away, but it's not to run away; it's to kind of pick off the guys that are chasing him. Every time he is in a chase, they eventually get picked off by some means, I guess. With Biff and them, he doesn't do a fight with them. He runs away. And then they end up crashing into the building, and the other times it's with the manure trucks. And all
that's because he's smart enough to know that he can't go toe-to-toe with them, but he can possibly outsmart them in other ways.
That's what I was saying. That's what I liked. Like, he's kid. He's like, man, he's a wimp. And then
Well, he's just like his dad in that respect, but he's got the balls his dad didn't have. Yeah.
right. Yeah,
But anyway, that's a whole nother discussion. For
Right,
Oh,
right,
God.
right.
Back to the Future is like that's a 3-hour
fuck,
chat, right?
man. We'll be.
right.
You know, we
And that's
should
just for
almost.
the first movie.
You know, you want to do this right though. You should almost do this almost like an EFAP thing. Like, and you really should start with something like King Kong.
Yeah.
Like some early on movie where you really got to get into the technical aspects, because I think that's the thing kids nowadays really don't get. And I don't mean to say that like in a condescending way at all.
No, you never insult me when you say that stuff. I know what you're referring
like
to.
They don't understand how much work actually went into actually making a film, and King Kong shows the making of a movie in the movie.
Well, like, even if I wasn't aware of some of what they did, like I think it's good for me to see it anyway. If I wasn't aware now, like how much work went.
Yeah, like Jaws can be made in a weekend now. It took Steven Spielberg almost a fucking year to film Jaws, let alone the rest.
Nowadays, I try to physically think about being on set and what you're doing. So like thinking about filming Jaws and having a freaking shark thing in the middle of the water, I'm like, dude, how do you have?
Well, that was only half of the problem. The other half of the problem was just trying to film on water. Period.
Filming on water, like you're on a boat, I guess, but like. So,
not the same, man.
Yeah, I'm imagining there's a lot of things. It's like, hey, I forgot this one. I forgot the tape. Fuck.
No, it's not just that. It's filming on water, filming underwater. There's these tools. Like everybody has their own version for it, but the one I hear most commonly is called the Archimist, and it's basically this giant pod with a glass lens in it, and you put the camera guy and the camera in there, and you just lower them into the water. And
they invented a lot of stuff for Jaws too. Yeah.
That was a thing.
Yep.
Is that still used today? Usually,
probably.
No. Well, like not really. Like for some lower budget stuff where they can't afford a camera that can.
Well, everything's
underwater,
digital
yes,
now.
but like not really.
Almost everything is digital now. The only guys who shoot with film are Tarantino and Nolan. That's like about it.
Yeah.
Maybe Snyder. I think Snyder shot on film, but I'm not 100%. I don't think he did. He may have used digital.
I don't think he would. No.
I think he used the. Yeah, I think he used the Red 5s for.
This may be a stupid question, but like visually, I suppose, like when you're watching on screen, what's the difference between a digital and like a film grain? Like, is there a
more information on film?
More information on film. Digital is exact. Digital is. I mean, you can keep getting pixels smaller and smaller and smaller, but the difference between film and digital is always going to be the exact same amount of size, and it's really difficult for a computer to understand how grain works, and grain is never the same size.
And on top of that, the grains are almost on the nanometer scale too. Like,
yeah, and what they are is it's like
small.
It's like thinking about like how when you zoom in on a picture and you start to see like, especially in like a newspaper, and you start to see like the little dots that fill in the colors, and the more and more you pull away, the less you see the dots. That's kind of the way film works. Is like each and every little color on screen is a little dot,
right?
And it's so like minuscule, just like on kind of like a pixel is in a way. So they're very similar, but the problem is grain is random. Pixels aren't.
So is digital considered better than film?
We've gotten to a point where digital is able to mimic film almost exactly.
Almost,
with 4K.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's.
I think we're still another decade away before digital could be above film.
Well, the problem right now is the capacity. Like it,
yeah.
They'll film some movies in digital at like 5K, but it doesn't matter because then they'll end up doing like a 2K interpositive, which is basically basic 1080p, and then for like the 4K they'll upgrade it, up convert it, which is stupid.
Yeah, it's not the same.
Yeah, and if you watch an old classic film that is film from beginning to end, on 4K Blu-ray, and then watch it next to a brand new movie that was filmed on digital, like an Avengers movie, and then that was converted from a 2K positive, there's a world of difference. Like the Avengers movies actually look worse.
Like if
you also have to reform. You also have to play around with your TV settings to get rid of some of the camcorder effects that happen, because sometimes the conversion from your Blu-ray player.
If you have motion anything turned on your TV, turn that shit off.
Yeah.
Everybody listening, go to your settings of your TV. If smooth motion, motion smoothness, anything like that is turned on, turn that shit off.
Well, so if you filmed a movie on film, would you in post still be able to add any effects to it?
Yeah, well, the way they used to
effects?
do it is they used to do it in the computer, and then they would print it back out to the film. And what you have,
they did layerings, yeah.
Yeah,
it was crazy.
But like, so then that's where they decided, oh, it's just easier to do everything digitally, and that's what Lucas started. It's like, if I'm gonna have to convert it to digital anyway, so what the fuck? I might as well just film it in digital. And
Well,
that's
not only
kind of
that,
where
he
they
wanted
started,
more
yeah.
options too, which you can do on digital that you can't do on film, because every new take is a lot more money on film. But
Yes.
with digital, you don't have to spend extra money to move the camera to the left and take a shot.
We
that
have
way.
gotten to the point now where digital is much easier, convenient, cheaper. There's a hard argument to make for film as a medium now.
Well, here's the thing: like, if you're going to do film, you have to storyboard the hell out of your film and know exactly what you're going to shoot and why you're shooting it that way, and be happy that that's the only thing you're going to have.
Well, here's the thing: like, a movie that would normally cost like $10-20 million to do in digital, you're looking at 100 or better to do in film.
Yeah.
That's why Nolan's movies are so expensive.
So it's like, you have to know what you're filming so that you're not gonna, we'll just reshoot it, or we'll just fix it, later. It's like, you got to know what
right, and that's why it used to be a big deal when guys like Kubrick used to go through 50 fucking takes.
Yeah, studios would hate him for that.
Because it costs more physical.
Yes, because film is not cheap.
You had to buy film in 10-minute reels. Like, that's how it was, because the rolls of film are huge.
Yeah.
So you'd have like a 10-minute stock, and then once you do that 10 minutes, you reload. And on top of that as well, like, it's just ridiculously expensive. It just adds up. It's ridiculously expensive.
Plus the timing and the cost to have it developed for dailies, and then the storage and the dupes and all these. It's a lot of work that digital cleans up real easy. And again, like, up until recent years, where we've finally gotten to the point where digital can now mimic film pretty damn well, we now where I've gotten to the point where, it's probably better to start
Mel Brooks used to tell a joke that if you want to make a movie for $1 million, the most you could shoot is someone opening a can of tuna.
It's not even far from a joke, because like,
it's not, like, it's true, but yeah, it's
film is so expensive. I mean, when you start figuring because that's the other thing that's different is just, besides the physical aspect of it, the transferring, all that business, there's the lighting. Lighting for film is
a little different.
So much more expensive and intense than it is for digital. Digital, you can generally just pull out your camera, get a few lights put up, and you're ready to go.
You can film a digital film with a Bic lighter, actually.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, in all realness, yes. But I mean, you can make a digital film look like a good film a lot cheaper than you would to spend all the money to go through all the process. But now what you're getting in the end, though, is like the ability to show your film prestigiously in like a 70 millimeter, like that's what Nolan and Tarantino are all about. But their Blu-rays, then when you get to like their 4K editions, look infinitely better than anything else that's out there.
And on top of that, Kodak and Fujifilm, those companies, they don't make as much film stock as they used to. So that the price goes up because it's not as mass produced.
I didn't know that. Based on what you're saying, I wouldn't think that people would still film things on film now. Essentially,
they very rarely do. Tarantino and Nolan are like the only exception.
But I mean, it makes it seem like, you have purpose for your story that you want to tell. Then, if that's the case, like,
it allows for more commitment. That's the other part too, right? So you're refining your vision, because going in, you're not going to have a whole lot of play. You're working out all the kinks before you get to the problems, which allows for you to have a very particular narrative voice when you're making your movie. But then at the same time, there's also the idea that sometimes things can go wrong on set, and you need to act quickly. And if you're stuck with a 10-minute stock of film, you don't have a whole lot of play there. But if you have digital, it's like, okay, we can at least get some of this, and then we can start moving on some of this. And there's a lot more room to sort of recoup any sort of issues that might pop up if, whatever they are.
I don't know what setup you have to watch right now, Rookie, because I mean, I'm sure you can't afford to like buy like a fancy setup, but I mean, if you can save up to get yourself even just an affordable, decent 4K setup. Do you have like an Xbox One?
Yeah.
Okay, Xbox One plays 4K Blu-rays. So all you need is a 4K TV, basically.
I think I have a 4K.
Well, then yeah, like you can take advantage of seeing how film really should look compared to what a lot of stuff looks like nowadays.
All right.
Like if I were you, I would pick up like some classic film on 4K Blu-ray or something like, and make sure your shit's all set up right. And
Yeah,
like that's
the
big
motion
thing.
stuff. Get rid of that.
Get rid of the motion stuff. Make sure that your outputs are all set to 4K and everything's set up correctly. It should have automatically done most of that stuff for you when you hook it up, but yeah, make sure all that. And it sounds important, but if you can't, obviously, most people don't have the room or can afford a decent sound.
Yeah, I'd rather move out of my mom's house before I get that set up.
Absolutely understandable.
Yeah.
So until then, I'd suggest, obviously, if you can, using headphones or trying to come up with like at least something like that to where you're really immersed in it and enjoying. Like if you can get like Jaws on 4K or even
Close Encounters.
Close Encounters is a good one. I know 2001's a hard watch, but that one just come out and that's a beautiful fucking
Dude,
trailer.
that is another movie that you have to see.
Like I said, you got to
you have to see Close Encounters of the
you got to
Third
see
Kind.
all of Kubrick's. You got to pretty much see all of Scorsese's and certain ones. Like it's a given. You will eventually have to watch these films.
I know. I figure. If not, I'll be forced to regardless. Just kidding.
But even the theater experience now, and it's sad because you're young enough that most of your life it's probably been digital. Like you've probably never actually had a true film experience in the theater. Like I've hated it since theaters have gone digital. Like I hate the picture. I'd rather have the
Well,
scratches.
it's a little flat. That's the thing, right?
Well, not just that. It's dark. They don't turn up the lumen enough. Most of them are only broadcasting it at 1080p or throwing it at 1080p, so it's really not even
A sharp
close
image, yeah.
to what film should be. Because my experiences from my recollection is that some of the worst theaters I went to back in the day with some of the worst rundown film prints still look 10 times better than any digital print I've seen.
Oh yeah, I remember going to the rep theater and seeing like I guess it was a 35 millimeter print of Black Christmas that blew everything that we saw else that weekend away because it was way cleaner, sharper image. And it was such a lower quality film stock than what you're used to. It still had the blue from all the age of it. Like nobody had cleaned the film, but it was still like a sharp, good
That's
image.
the other thing is all the digital manipulation you could do now compared to what you could then.
Yeah.
Like the reason, like the way that Terminator 2 got its blue hue back in the day was they had to actually tint the film like that. They couldn't do that yet digitally.
Right. Have you guys seen the movie Cinema Paradiso?
A long time ago.
Yeah, a while ago.
I thought I had you on one you haven't seen because that's kind of similar to what we're talking about, I guess.
No, but that's
kid.
another one that should be on your list. So if you've seen it, that's
we had to see that in our.
well, there's probably, like Script said, there's probably a good 1,000 films we could probably give you each film that you should see.
If it makes you feel better, I haven't seen that one.
Well, that's all right. It's a foreign film, and like in my intro to cinema class, that was the only film class in my college. It's just the one intro to cinema, and that is it. There's no others. So it was literally we got to see some. That's where I saw it. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, being John Malkovich, Tampopo, Pan's Labyrinth, and some other.
Oh, you had a snobby teacher.
One.
Yeah.
Wait, why?
He showed you some very highbrow shit. And
But
didn't even get your,
she was just a crazy old lady with a broken leg. I don't know if she.
what the hell?
She was,
She was
What's
following
going
some
on in your state,
curriculum.
man?
Because that's like, I mean, those are great films to show, but like, where's the meat and potatoes? You're missing a lot.
Where's the stuff to generate the excitement? Yeah.
we only saw like 6 movies in class. The rest we
Well,
had like
if you only have 6
stuff.
movies to see in an art film class, only like 2 of those are ones that I would even, maybe 2 are ones that I would say should be on that list. Like Good and the Bad, the Ugly, yeah.
Yeah, I mean there's some other Nazi film I think, or like some type of spies. They're like spying on somebody, and it's like through the wall. I don't know what the hell it was.
Sounds
There's
like this
another
person
foreign-
is just likes a lot of foreign films, yeah.
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 Which,
I mean that's
don't get me
where I
wrong,
saw
there's a
Tim.
value to foreign films in regards to different ways that they tell stories through a narrative, but you got to learn one style first before you start exploring into the others. If you try to learn all of them at the same time, you're just going to get confused.
We also
Right.
saw The Big Lebowski, which I hated, but yeah.
Well, that's a good film, but I'm surprised you hated it. But again, like
That's a trickier one because that's the whole idea of like
That's-
using the side characters of a bigger story and making that the movie.
yeah, that's
And-
like second or third year
yeah.
shit. Like you really got to start at ground level.
The,
Like, I
the
don't know
Big
why they didn't
Lebowski
do
was
that.
kind of slow.
I mean, to
Well-
me, I just didn't care about what I was watching as it was going. I'm just like, and he's drinking his alcohol, cool. I guess I understood the point. Like he's just
It's about the upset of a person that doesn't do anything.
Yeah, it's like it's a chill, regular dude.
It's a very spiritual sequel in a way to Big Trouble in Little China, but that's a totally different subject. No, you really need to start at the ground level with like Citizen Kane, King Kong, that kind of stuff. Like,
yeah,
you really need to get into those and really start to explore them. Even movies you've seen, you may need to rewatch them again and kind of.
No,
like
that's the gist I'm getting right now. Like even Back to the Future, I haven't seen.
Yeah, and that's probably level 2-ish. Like you really got to start at ground level. And what was the other one you said? Script.
Oh, It Happened One Night is.
It Happened One Night. Is a good one. Yeah, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington.
Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. Double Indemnity is pretty good. Find some of the film noir classics.
Yes,
A
yeah,
lot of these ones you've mentioned did not even come up on like a top 100 that I've searched.
which is sad.
as well, 'cause
I gotta
Which means the person who wrote that doesn't know film.
Yeah.
The Big Sleep, Kiss Me Deadly, Impact. Those are all the Maltese Falcon, obviously, of course.
No, I haven't heard of it. These ones, what?
You haven't heard of the Maltese Falcon?
Oh my God.
The Maltese
Casablanca is another one too that should be on that
African
list.
Queen.
Yeah, dude. I mean, those are like the three big Bogart movies that you got to see, man.
Falcon. The Maltese Falcon.
Who
Yes.
directed Maltese Falcon?
Oh God.
I'm trying to say it right.
Not
Is that-
Ford. Was it
say
Ford?
again?
Yes, I think it was John Ford.
Was it John Ford? Okay, yeah. See, he might
Maybe.
be one that you should see. You should almost start with. You should almost go with directors, like Shodzak and them guys, and then like who made King Kong and all that. That's a good place to start because those guys were fucking nuts.
Yeah. So John Ford made a movie. It's actually a propaganda film for the Marines, but you'd never know it because it's done really well. It's more to entertain than to be propaganda. But it's I think it's the first John Ford film with John Wayne, and they literally had to grab oil for like lanterns, and they covered the entire field of it in sand just so they could get the right appeal to it, as opposed to importing actual sand of a darker color into it.
Yeah, start with like Cooper and Shodzak.
Oh
They
yeah.
Okay, you know what? I'm gonna start looking now.
Marion C. Cooper and
Is this the right?
Shodzak.
Is this the right?
This is the one, yeah.
The 1933.
Yes.
Yep.
Now, start with these guys first. I wish you had the Blu-ray because there is an amazing documentary on the Blu-ray and DVD, or DVD or the Blu-ray, the 2-disc DVD or the regular Blu-ray. Because there is some great shit on there for just learning about how
I'm gonna add 5 to my watch list now. What was that Maltese? How do you spell the Maltese?
The
Falcon?
Maltese Falcon.
Maltese Falcon?
Maltese.
Yes.
MAOT. What?
MAL.
Oh, L. Okay. I was like, what? Okay, that comes up already. I got it.
The Maltese Falcon's like one of the first big MacGuffin movies.
Yep.
When I typed in the Maltese Falcon, Lord of the Rings was the first thing that came up. but then that was but then that's the second one that came up.
Google's Googling.
There's also Sunset Boulevard. That's a classic. Check out Sunset Boulevard.
Well, we got to send them down a path with like just to start. Like,
so I got those two, the King Kong and the Maltese Falcon.
But like the directors of King Kong, they are fucking crazy guys. They are somebody you should really kind of just learn about. Like I said, that documentary is great. The way they made movies and shit.
So the Maltese Falcon, I don't know, because you were talking about directors.
I'm trying to remember who directed
the Maltese Falcon was directed by John Huston.
Okay, John Huston's
Yes.
another one. Yep.
Houston, thank you.
And I don't know. I'm gonna guess. I don't know for sure, but I'm gonna guess that that's probably Angelica's father.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Who is another freaking one of like the actresses, of all time is Angelica Houston.
All right, hey Mega Jetty, we're just about to close out here. They've been giving me lots of lessons on film in the last few minutes on ones to watch. So you'll be proud when I see them, though.
You know what's going to
like-
happen? This time next year, Tom, you and I are going to have an artificial film school.
Right? We almost got to sit down because I'm like looking at this. It's like, okay, first off, you got to watch like Kong and Son of Kong and Mighty Joe Young and a few things from Shodssack.
I've seen
Monkey's Paw.
Young Frankenstein.
Oh, you've
Yes.
seen Young Frankenstein, but have you seen Real Frankenstein?
No.
Yeah.
That's a
You gotta
problem.
see Real Frankenstein too, man.
Well, to be honest, I don't know what that would be because I've seen so many.
The original
copies of
30.
I don't know. I can't fault him though, because I mean, Young Frankenstein is like an instant classic.
Oh, it's
Yes, it
amazing.
is.
But Young Frankenstein
it's Frankenstein.
it's basically a remake of Bride of Frankenstein.
Yeah.
So you got to see Frankenstein and all those two eventually, but like start with like Kong and Citizen Kane and the Maltese Falcon, and which other one did you guys give him?
Double Indemnity.
Double Indemnity. Yeah.
African Queen.
Well, let's not
African
load
Queen,
him up too much here.
Okay, 1944. It says.
Yeah, we want to kind of start him at the ground level.
Dude,
here.
Bogey was busy though, man, because freaking the Maltese Falcon came out in 41,
Mhm.
and Casablanca was, well, one thing says 42, but the other part says release date of January of 1943. So, but I mean, like, but yeah, Bogey was busy freaking during the World War II years,
Well, they made movies faster in those days a little bit.
Oh,
like
yeah.
Jerry Lewis has made movies in like literally 3 days. That
Well, yeah, they were like
huge hits.
they were like television studios back then.
Yeah.
Like it was all in studio. You got everything done. You had your day players. You just,
Yep. So before we head out of here, I guess I'll tell you guys what I'll watch. I'll make it my homework. Okay. So I got Rocky. I got The Thing. I got the Maltese Falcon, the King Kong, the one that you suggested, and the Double Indemnity. I will watch those
You got to do some Capra films though too eventually.
Yeah.
eventually, but I'm doing a 5-goal movie start.
No, I hear you, because you got Mr. Smith. It happened one night, and It's a Wonderful Life. You definitely got to see.
And I mean, I'm making it's not the fastest progress, but I mean, I went from having not seen Kill Bill 1 and 2, Alien 1 and 2, Jaws 1 and 2, Die Hard 1 and 2, Rambo 1 through 4, The Karate Kid.
So you haven't seen the good Die Hard
seen
movie?
them now.
You haven't seen Die Hard 3?
No, I think I don't remember. We're debating on that one. You said 2 kind of sucks, but then 3 actually got good.
3 is amazing. 3 is the sequel we should have got in the first place.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh yeah, I heard the Simon Says script. It's not bad.
Fucking
actually.
awesome.
Yeah.
It's actually and that's another good example of a movie that was turned was a totally different movie, and it was turned into a Die Hard movie, which is every Die Hard movie except for the last one. I'm not kidding.
But yeah.
All right. Well, I will check that out at some point, but it's not going to be as recent, I guess. I'll get these 5 down first, and then I'll see. I'll be trying to watch these a lot quicker than before, because the ones that I listed, I saw that over a year.
If you need some help getting to some, let me know. I do have like a lot of streaming services I don't use, so I can probably hook you up.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that'd be cool. I mean, right now I've been doing, like, if it's not on Hulu or Netflix or like on Amazon for free streaming, I just rent them on Amazon for like $4.
Yeah, a lot of them you could buy them just as cheap on Blu-ray, dude. That's what's sad, and actually get the special features and stuff.
Really?
Or even just DVD, man. I mean, dude, you can go to Walmart. You can go to Walmart, and they've got like the $4 and $5 freaking bins. where you can.
Go to Walmart.
Yeah, you can find
Find
some
it.
classics in there, like just ones that are good movies that just do not sell that well because
Right.
the tastes of the masses have changed. But
Oh
can
yeah,
really
you can
find a
get
treasure
Gone with the
trove.
Wind. I bought Casablanca not too long ago from Walmart.
Really?
I've seen King Kong. I don't know how many times in the bins. Yeah, if not, also if you live in an area that has any resale shops, hit them up, man, and you can buy cheap Blu-rays and DVDs, man.
I mean, we have a buybacks DVD store that's like where the old Hollywood Video used to be.
Well, check out their prices if they're pretty
I'll see.
decent. Well, that's what
Yeah.
I did today. I feel bad. I spent way too much money on CDs and Blu-rays because I went to a
I did
resale
the same
shop.
thing. I finally got Who Censored Roger Rabbit hard copy book.
Ooh.
Because I've been looking for it for a while, and there's a bookstore, like the world's largest bookstore that is by my office in Toronto, and they hadn't had it. And then my girlfriend was in there on her lunch break today, and she's like, "Oh, I picked this up for you." And
I
was
can
like,
probably
Yeah.
get that signed for you.
that'd
All
be
it would
cool
cost you is just to ship it and have it shipped
to
back.
ship it. Yeah.
Speaking of which, I mean, it's not movies, but it's books. If any of you guys, or even people that are listening in the chat, if there's like an old or older book or whatever that you've been looking for and you can't find, let me know, because I have a really, what I consider to be a really decent used bookstore in my town. So
Oh, that's actually, you know what book? I'll DM you because there's an old science fiction book I've been looking to try and find that's been bugging the hell out of me for a while.
Hey, I found a paperback of First Blood last week for $3.
Oh.
Hasn't that been out of print for like years?
Almost a decade, I think. Yeah.
They still make books. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, I work
Just
at a publishing
kidding.
company. They still make books. It's just weird now.
Those
It's weird
ancient
now.
devices that would have paper held by. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Non-power dependent reading, basically.
Yes. Well, I think we'll just end it right there because we could go forever talking about this stuff, honestly, which is what's fun. Half the stream has been not about the Matrix.
Well, maybe that's what we should do is just set up like a weekly like movie talk.
Well,
stream,
I
yeah.
actually have one called Film Talk that I haven't made any bit consistent, but that was kind of the gist, was to talk about this sort of thing, or to, pick people's brains about film or different aspects and different takes, what they think, all that. With film, kind of like this, which is great. And yeah, Mega Jetty, just go earlier to the stream if you want to see those thoughts. We go for quite a bit in the beginning, and then we go into this stuff later.
Yeah, he didn't really
Yeah.
like it that much. He thought it was all right.
Yeah, that was okay. But it's like this reminds me of when we talked about The Rise of Skywalker. We talked about that for like 2 hours, and then 3 hours. The rest of the 3 hours of that 5-hour stream was
the Rise of who?
films.
Oh yeah, I remember that. That was long.
Yeah, it's a 5-hour
that
stream.
stream also flew too. Like it did not feel like 5 hours.
You
No,
mean the
that
rise
one
of?
flew by.
You mean the rise of Palpatine?
Yeah, pretty much.
Jeffrey, they were never going to wind up together. That's the whole point. That's what I love about Die Hard 3 is it's the more realistic of the films. The second film is the same movie all over again.
Yeah.
It is so ridiculous that they actually have Bruce Willis saying, "How can the same guy go through the same shit twice on the same day, no less?" Like, I love the third film because when we see him and meet him in the third film, that's because he's gonna fuck it up. There's no way they're destined to get divorced. It's just the way it is.
And I don't care who you are, and even Bruce Willis himself, okay, because people throw this at me, but Bruce himself was wrong, okay? Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
It is. But the rest of them,
Yeah.
you can debate on.
The rest of them aren't, but that first one is definitely a Christmas movie.
Even the second one you could debate on because there's very little to do with Christmas outside of the airport
the
business.
people are like, well, it's not about Christmas, and I'm like, okay, true, but what kind of party were they having?
Yeah, and everybody's like, well, it could
Christmas
be this
party.
party or that party, and I make the argument that if you take, they don't normally have a party like that just for any old occasion, and it's also important because the rest of the building is empty. Like, there's too many things.
New
that
Year's
hinge.
is the only other
Yeah.
other point, but they don't do it. So yeah.
Well, not only that, New Year's isn't generally when you get together for family. Like it's important because it's Christmas, and that's another reason why he would make this trip
Mm.
to
And
see his
Christmas
family.
office parties are very common. So yeah.
And if somebody's going to plan to do what they're going to do it on a day like that when the important people are there and they're in a concentrated area.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Die Hard is most definitely a Christmas movie, but you can watch it any day of the year.
Yeah,
Right.
but that was actually one of our arguments when we watched when we were talking about Rise of Skywalker.
I hate to sound condescending, but I look at it this way. If you pull Christmas out of the equation, and if the movie falls apart, then it is a Christmas movie. But there are the select few like Die Hard, Gremlins, Home Alone. You can watch any day of the year, and they're still enjoyable. It doesn't have to be Christmas.
Right. It's not the plot is tied to it, but the feel isn't.
But it's a little difficult to watch shit like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Right. And go, this is
Or Scrooge. Scrooge you can still watch other parts of the year, but
it's the Santa
harder during
Claus
Christmas,
type ones are the ones I'm thinking of, like where they're so
Right.
just.
It's heavy. That's
Yeah.
heavy-handed. It's Christmas. But I wanted to respond to this comment real quick. It says maybe you should try working on making movies if you want to be director instead of watching and talking about movies. Well, I mean, that's literally what I'm doing is trying to make movies. But, you know, like Script Doctor pointed out earlier, it's like you have to learn about what it is. I mean, otherwise.
He does, Charlie. I mean, I get it. Charlie's trying to be well, you should do this instead of just yakking about it on YouTube. But he does. And that's why we're proud of this kid, and that's why we're talking to him.
The thing about it is, too, Charlie, is that by doing what he's doing, you know, watching movies, talking about movies, he's building his influence. You know, you got all the, you know, you watch, you know, sit and watch interviews with like Spielberg and all that stuff, and there's not all the time, but you know, there's quite a bit of the time there will be at least one little blurb in there where they mention something about, you know, a previous director or a movie or something like that that influenced them. And, you know, so.
Well, it's about, I'm learning as I go here. I mean, with this, and that's part of it. If I were to just focus on trying to, you know, make a film, that's one thing, sure. But, I mean,
I can tell
you guys
I could have
think that you learn more. I mean, wasn't that part of this conversation is that you learn more by seeing what's already been done?
Yeah,
and
the rest of us, I mean, I don't know what Shellback has done before, but like Script works in the industry. I have worked on stuff before, although I just, you know, I do what I do now, but I've had
I'm just a movie buff, man.
Yeah, so I mean, at the same time, as far as like what Jeffrey's saying, we could have a very long conversation on Die Hard. Him losing Holly has nothing to do with him being a superhero, and he's not a superhero until Live Free or Die Hard.
Yeah. But the other part too, it's like to further.
There are some moments.
Go on with Charlie. It's if you watch enough movies or learn how they're made before you start making them, you avoid a lot of the repeating mistakes that cost you a lot of money or a lot of time. And that's the one thing that you can have as a value for like special features on DVD and Blu-ray, watching director and filmmaker and writer interviews. And also seeing why the movies that stand the test of time stand the test of time. If you can figure all that out before you spend a dime, you've saved yourself years and thousands upon thousands of dollars making your short films or feature films right off the bat. Because yes, you do learn a lot by doing, but you can also learn by example as opposed to just only learning by experience. And
I think that's what Tarantino did too. I think that's what Tarantino did. Yeah,
that's what I'm learning right now as we speak in general. Because like with the writing, I've learned a lot about acting and about camera angles and about how to edit. But I guess I haven't learned too much about how the script works until now. I'm learning more about how to craft the story. I mean, Script Doctor's been pointing me out on just the outlines alone, not even the script. Like I'm just trying to nail how to get a good outline, and that's
you just.
A struggle. It's very different than what I thought it is and how it would be. What's needed or like what like somebody in the actual industry would look at and accept. That's something I never would know. And just by doing it, okay, I did it, but is it acceptable?
Here's the sad truth, right? So when you're on the outside trying to come in, nobody owes you anything. So you technically owe them, and that is you owe them entertainment. So if you're submitting a script or like a short film or something, it better be ridiculously entertaining. Otherwise, they're just going to turn it off as soon as they're bored, right? Because you are literally a nobody from their eyes. Unless you're like Steven Spielberg or Christopher Nolan, nobody in Hollywood owes you a complete read of your work or a complete watch of your work. And when you understand that and realize that, man, I got to make sure that every single moment is as entertaining as it can be in order to keep people interested, that have no idea who I am, then you're going to have a better advantage than everybody else. Because I encounter this all the time. I encountered this afternoon with another writer who's like, yeah, I found out that the script I submitted, they tossed it after 3 pages. I'm like, yeah, that's not their fault, man. That's yours. You got to figure out why they tossed it in 3 pages and fix it.
Yep. And not only that, you got to be, and it's really good to have yourself a good repertoire to build on, even though you may not be the biggest horror fan or certain things like that. It's still good to know certain things about the genres and how they work, because I'm going to tell you this right now. Hundreds of people are trying to become directors and filmmakers every single day.
Mm-hmm.
There's only so many Tarantinos, so many Nolans, and so on. Your odds of being like one of those guys are so slim. You need to be able to work your way up there if that's the case.
And even if you're brand new, they probably want a sense of familiarity with what you do.
Well, not just that, is like your chances are like you may get into the industry, but it's like, okay, you can get in here, but you're gonna have to make this low budget horror movie. And we'll let you make your other movie, but you got to make this movie for us first. Like you'll see a lot of that kind of a thing.
And you should know what horror is before you can.
Right. Like that's a good point. That's actually,
or a comedy or a romantic film. You may get stuck making some Hallmark movies or some TV shows. That's another thing. Like,
oh God.
Yeah, there's totally different kinds of directing. Like when you're directing a movie compared to a TV show, it's a whole different ball game. Like
let's not talk bad about Hallmark movies now, because
yeah, right.
Remember, I used
your
to be
OG name. Yes.
I used to be Hallmark Channel Jeremy. So let's.
Oh yes.
Well, here's there's a few different levels of Hallmark movies. Okay, there's the 160 fucking literally Christmas movies they make a year. Then there's the actual 2 or 3 decent films they make for their Crown specials or whatever you call them. But yeah, hey, they make money, man, and they can make you money. That's what I'm saying. Like, shit, dude, you can't, beggars can't be choosy. You want to get shit under your belt. The more you have under your belt, the better. Like, even if you get stuck making like religious films or some shit, it doesn't matter as long as it's making a movie. You know, get your first goal is going to want to get your Directors Guild card and stuff like that, and that's the first key step, because then that opens the doors to other jobs and stuff. Script can probably tell you more about
that.
Dude,
I'd make whatever.
Why do you think so many directors start in horror anyways?
Well, I just don't mean horror in general, but I mean, like, you just want to mainly get your foot in the door first and foremost. And 9 times out of 10, they're not going to make any of the 3 scripts you have in your hand when you walk in the door. But if you have a nice reel to impress them with, of like your short film stuff that you've done, they'll be like, "Oh, maybe we'll make one of these movies if you do this for us first." You may have.
And if that does well, it's good. Or maybe they don't like any of the stuff, but you do well at some other like assignment work. And then from there, you take the money you've made from that and you invest it into another short film that you want to pitch. And then maybe you can step a little bit and expand your genre portfolio and try something new. It's all about it's patience and perseverance.
If you're making money at it, though, that's the deal. I mean, to me, like working in the film industry as like, say, either a director, writer, actor. I mean, that's to me that's like, the guys that are able to make a living racing. It's like, how can you complain when you're getting paid to do something that you like? So.
Oh yeah, that's a big argument on a lot of that. But I mean, again, I envy you in a lot of ways, also though, Jeff, because you're in a position where we didn't have YouTube when I was your age. We didn't have digital was just starting to come into play. Like, I got to mess around with some of the early HD digital cameras when they were first brand spanking new. Like, so I mean.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm able to use YouTube and reach out to you guys.
Well, not just that. You can do it. You can just do it.
Yeah.
You got enough resources. Right. You can just go out and do it. And
that still applies to us, though, Tom. I mean, old farts like us could still, break out there. Using.
I tried directing a movie
like
right
YouTube.
now. Let's face it, I'd have a heart attack.
Yeah, direct a commercial first, Tom.
Yeah, work your way back into the game.
I mean, there's some of us who have talked about. Here's the thing, like, and not to drag this out any goddamn longer, because this is the last thought I want to make on this, because I wanted to talk to you guys behind the scenes anyway. So,
Sure.
Like, basically, no, I forgot my train of fucking thought.
That's what happens at your age.
I'm too old. That's what I'm saying. I'm too old. Too old to
Now,
start.
how would you like to write the prequels, the remake?
Don't even.
No, just kidding. Well, thank you everybody for coming by. This was an awesome conversation. Again, I feel like just clipping out this last section, last hour and a half or so to be on video.
More entertaining than the Matrix talk, huh?
I think so too, to be honest. More substance. So if you guys want to say any last things before we close out, now is the time.
Whoa.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if he's still watching or not, but in the absence of the great author Stephen Walton, wash your hands, wash your ass. There you go.
In that order.
And be good to each other.
Yeah.
I know Kung Fu.
Oh, Final Death Star. I watched that. I thought it was funny as shit. I thought it was hilarious.
What's up, man?
Yeah, I thought it was actually pretty good. I really liked the end button that they did there with the kids.
Is that death? Yeah, and he's playing hopscotch by himself. And he's
cheating. Are you guys okay? Well, we're dead and we're in hell. Yeah, but are you okay? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but how are you doing?
Oh, yeah, how are you doing?
Totally good, bro. But yeah, so with that,
my only disappointment with that trailer is Kristen Schaal. Like, I have nothing personal against her. I just really, that's who you're gonna pick.
Is that the chick from the beginning in the? Which one's that?
That's a chick from Flight of the Condors and.
Well, who did she play in the Bill and Ted's?
Oh, she plays like the Rufus type character.
Oh, okay, yeah. I here's the thing. I don't know how much she's really playing the quote unquote Rufus.
I think she's only there for those two scenes.
I think so. Because
I would have picked like Dave Chappelle or someone did.
Well, we I don't know if you were on the show yet when we said that, but we said Dennis Leary would have been a perfect choice. And the best part is you have him come in and he don't like him. Like it's like, come on, let's get going. Come on, kids, let's go. Come on, you two.
I hate you, but you saved the world, so come on.
I don't want to do that, but well, the whole thing is
George Carlin.
Yeah, well, here's the thing: is I as far as I know, part of what's in the story is why Rufus is missing. So I'm sure they'll address it.
Yeah.
Plus, his daughter's in the movie.
Yes.
I don't know what part she plays.
George Carlin's daughter?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Oh shit! Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Heck yeah! Well, with
I don't know how much of an actress she is, so she probably plays like a